The divine sword is invincible. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351, Demonic Ape Bridge. Man Fang tried to recall, shook his head and said, except for the Sky Demon clan, other clans probably don't have it. Then he said, the Elf clan had one piece back then, but that piece has been used up by the Elf clan's ancient ancestor. Yang Xiaoshan frowned. Man Fang suddenly remembered a place and blurted out, there is a place that may have the innate divine iron. Where? Yang Xiaoshan asked anxiously. The Eternal Heavenly Tomb. Man Fang said. The Eternal Heavenly Tomb? Yang Xiaoshan asked. The Eternal Heavenly Tomb is in the Eternal Burial Ground, but the Eternal Heavenly Tomb will only be opened on the 15th day of July. Man Fang said, if you want to enter the Eternal Heavenly Tomb, you must wait until the 15th day of July. The 15th day of July. Yang Xiaoshan was stunned. Yes, when the 15th day of July comes, the Eternal Heavenly Tomb will automatically open. Man Fang said with a serious face, but the 15th day of July is when the yin ghost aura is the heaviest, and the Eternal Heavenly Tomb is also a place where ghosts and evil spirits gather, which is extremely dangerous. Yang Xiaoshan nodded. Since the Eternal Heavenly Tomb may have the innate divine iron, he must go in and find out, no matter how dangerous it is. At night, Yang Xiaoshan took out the Kangshan sword and the piece of innate divine iron in the palace, arranged by the dwarves, and then controlled the divine fire to repair the Kangshan sword. As the innate divine iron was melted into the Kangshan sword, the cracks on the sword became much smaller. Yang Xiaoshan practiced the Kangshan sword technique for a while, and sure enough, the power of the Kangshan sword increased a lot. After practicing for a while, Yang Xiaoshan stopped and thought of the piece of innate divine iron of the Shinaiao clan, and he had a headache. It is very difficult to get the Shinaiao clan to hand over such a divine object as the innate divine iron. Robbery is absolutely not an option. But how can the Shinaiao clan hand over the piece of innate divine iron? The next day, Yang Xiaoshan asked Man Fang about the news of Man Lei. Young master, are you looking for the ancient ancestor? Man Fang was a little surprised when he heard that Yang Xiaoshan was looking for their ancient ancestor. I heard that your ancient ancestor forged a sword of all things back then. Yang Xiaoshan asked. Man Fang said, to be honest, sir, we have been looking for the whereabouts of the ancient ancestor for many years. We don't know the exact whereabouts of the ancient ancestor. We only found out that the ancient ancestor entered the Demon Ape Bridge and disappeared afterwards. Oh, Demon Ape Bridge. Yang Xiaoshan read. Yes, Demon Ape Bridge. Man Fang said, the Demon Ape Bridge is close to the border of the Red Fire ancient country and is far away from here. It is said that the Demon Ape Bridge suppresses an extremely powerful demon ape, hence the name. Is that demon ape a god? Yang Xiaoshan asked with a stir in his heart. Man Fang nodded and said, yes, and it is extremely powerful. It is said that it was suppressed by the Heavenly Dragon Sword God back then. The Heavenly Dragon Sword God and the Demon Heavenly Sword God are sword gods of the same period. In the Kangshan continent, the two are equally famous. Even the Heavenly Dragon Sword God can only suppress this demon ape and cannot kill it. You can imagine the strength of this demon ape. Yang Xiaoshan asked some more questions about the situation of the Demon Ape Bridge, the Red Fire ancient country and the 100 Races Empire, and gradually had a clearer understanding of the situation of each race in the 100 Races Empire. In ancient times, the dwarves were the strongest tribe in the 100 Races Empire, but with the death of the ancestor of the dwarves, the strength of the dwarves gradually weakened. Today, the dwarves can only barely squeeze into the top 10 of the 100 Races Empire. No wonder the elves dared to lead their army to rob the dwarves of their innate divine iron so unscrupulously. In the next few days, Yang Xiaoshan stayed in the dwarves. In addition to comprehending the ancient thunder god sword Dao and the Kang god sword Dao, he occasionally discussed refining with the dwarf ancestors. The more they discussed, the more amazed Man Fang and others were, and the more they admired Yang Xiaoshan. On the 7th day of the first lunar month, Yang Xiaoshan decided to go to the Demon Ape Bridge to find the whereabouts of the dwarf ancient ancestor Man Lei. Although Manfang and the dwarfs were reluctant, they could only send Yangtze Ocean out of the dwarf mountains. Originally, Manfang insisted on going to the Magic Ape Bridge with Yangtze Ocean, but considering that the elf army might come again, Yangtze Ocean asked Manfang to stay in the dwarf tribe. The Magic Ape Bridge is rich in minerals and spiritual medicines everywhere. It is a treasure land in the eyes of many sects and families in the 100 Races Empire. Therefore, many sects and family masters often lead their descendants to practice here. On the one hand, it can improve the practical experience of the younger generation of the family, and on the other hand, it can find minerals and spiritual medicines to go back and refine weapons and medicines. Although the Magic Ape Bridge is not within the territory of the Red Fire Country, the Red Fire Country naturally wants to occupy a treasure land like the Magic Ape Bridge, so the Red Fire Country has been sending troops to garrison in the Magic Ape Bridge. Only with the consent of the Red Fire Country can you enter the Magic Ape Bridge. It was just dawn, and many small families and independent masters had gathered around the Magic Ape Bridge. Although these small families and independent masters could not enter the Magic Ape Bridge, the minerals and spiritual medicines around the Magic Ape Bridge were not bad, and it was also a good place for practice. The walking family is here. Suddenly, a master of independent cultivation exclaimed. In the distant sky, a huge chariot made of divine gold was flying through the air at a very fast speed. On the chariot, sat a young man wearing a purple gold crown and an ancient sword on his waist. The driver was a burly and strong one-eyed old man. It's the walking sun. One-eyed old man. Seeing the newcomer, everyone was in a commotion. The Walking's family is definitely one of the strongest families in the Red Fire Ancient Country, and is highly regarded by His Majesty. The Walking's son is one of the most talented swordsmen in the young generation of the Red Fire Ancient Country. Holy Fire Sect. At this time, from another direction, a team of strong men rode flying horses through the air. This team of strong men was not large, only 10 people, but each of them had a strong aura and blood boiling in their bodies, which shocked everyone. The Holy Fire Sect is the largest sect in the Red Fire Ancient Country. Everyone didn't expect that even the Holy Fire Sect would come today, and the one who came was the Holy Son of the Holy Fire Sect. Chapter 352, Mizulenmea. The Pegasus ridden by the Holy Son of the Holy Fire Cult was extremely strong. His whole body was filled with blood and his muscles were as beautiful as solidified fat. After the Holy Fire Cult arrived, the sky was filled with black air, and a group of black-clothed men in black robes came through the air. Iron Mountain. Seeing the arrival, everyone's faces changed, and many masters showed fear. Iron Mountain is not a force of the Red Fire Ancient Country, but a huge evil force outside the Red Fire Ancient Country. It often guards the borders of the surrounding countries to burn, kill and plunder. Its strength is so strong that even the Red Fire Ancient Country and the surrounding countries can't do anything about it. And behind Iron Mountain is the Three-Eyed River Clan. Among the hundreds of clans, the Three-Eyed River Clan is strong enough to rank in the top 10. In terms of strength, it is stronger than the current dwarfs. With the support of the Three-Eyed River Clan, Iron Mountain is even more unscrupulous and arrogant. The person who came was Chen Jianzhang, the young master of Iron Mountain. Many people recognized Chen Jianzhang and retreated in shock. Chen Jianzhang's methods are cruel. Sometimes he doesn't need a reason to kill people. He may kill you at any time, as long as he doesn't like you, or is in a bad mood. After Chen Jianzhang arrived, he glanced at everyone at the scene with his cold eyes, and everyone was shocked. Just when everyone was shocked, suddenly, 2 more figures broke through the air. These 2 figures were all wearing black face shirts, and their thin skirts were looming, which was very tempting. Princess Lenmea of the Mei Clan. The Mei Clan is second only to the Elf Clan and the Sky Demon Clan in strength. Together with the Elf Clan and the Sky Demon Clan, they are called the 3 major clans. Princess Lenmea of the Mei Clan is a Chukayo of the younger generation of the 100 Clan Empire. She was born with a holy destiny and a fire spirit sword body. Her talent is not inferior to Zillow of the Elf Clan. She is also one of the top 10 geniuses of the younger generation of the 100 Clan Empire. When the Red Blood How who was guarding the Demon Ape Bridge of the Red Fire Ancient Country saw that it was Lenmea who came, he was so scared that he led his men to rush forward and kowtow respectfully. Song Hui of the Red Fire Ancient Country pays respects to Her Royal Highness the Princess. The Prince of War, the Holy Son of Holy Fire and others also hurried forward to pay respects. Even Chen Jianzhang, who had just been arrogant and proud, came forward and bowed, saying, Chen Jianzhang of Black Cloud Mountain pays respects to Her Royal Highness the Princess. Lin Mir glanced at Chen Jianzhang and the others, asked them to stand up, and was about to enter the Demon Ape Bridge, but at this moment, she suddenly saw several figures flying in the air from a distance. The young man in the lead, wearing a light blue brocade robe, attracted her attention. This young man had a special power on him, which made her feel extremely pressured. Lin Mir couldn't help but wonder, who is this young man? How could he make her, who was born with a holy destiny and a natural fire spirit sword body, feel such amazing pressure? Seeing Lin Mir's strange expression, everyone also looked over in the direction of Lin Mir's eyes. The people who came were Yang Xiaoshan and his companions. Chen Jianzhang frowned when he saw Lin Mir staring at Yang Xiaoshan. A princess of the Mei clan like Lin Mir had both talent and beauty, so naturally there were many people who admired her. He had seen Lin Mir before, and was one of her admirers. Although he knew that he was not good enough for Lin Mir with his status, he felt a little jealous when he saw Lin Mir staring at a young man. Yang Xiaoshan also saw Lin Mir, Chen Jianzhang and others from afar. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the Demon Ape Bridge. Just when Yang Xiaoshan and his companions were about to enter the Demon Ape Bridge, the Red Blood Marquis of the Red Fire Ancient Country stopped them. The Red Blood Marquis asked in a deep voice, "Do you have the Red Fire Holy Order?" In addition to the disciples of the sects and families allowed by the Red Fire Ancient Country to enter the Demon Ape Bridge, others who wanted to enter the Demon Ape Bridge must hold the Red Fire Holy Order of the Red Fire King. Red Fire Sacred Order? Yang Xiaoshan said calmly, "No." Upon hearing this, Chixu Hao said in a deep voice, "If you don't have the Red Fire Sacred Order, you can't enter the Demon Ape Bridge." Then he said, "Step back." Turning to Lin Mir, he said respectfully, "Princess, please. What if I must go in?" Yang Xiaoshan said calmly. Chixu Hao's face suddenly turned cold, and he sneered, "Boy, dare you to take a step forward and try." All the troops stationed by the Red Fire Ancient Country rushed over. Although the number of troops stationed by the Red Fire Ancient Country at the Demon Ape Bridge was not large, only 1,000 people, each of them was a master who could fight 10 at a time. Many archers aimed their arrows at Yang Xiaoshan and his men. These arrows were all coated with poison. Seeing Yang Xiaoshan blocking their way, Chen Jianzhang was full of murderous intent and shouted, "Boy, you don't have the Red Fire Holy Order. Why don't you get out of here? Don't block the way of Her Royal Highness the Princess." However, just as he finished speaking, a figure suddenly flashed, and Chen Jianzhang felt a pain in his throat, and was lifted up from the ground by Yang Xiaoshan holding his neck. Everyone was shocked to see Yang Xiaoshan holding Chen Jianzhang's neck, and lifting him up from the ground. Even the Red Blood Marquis and the Prince of War were shocked. Who is Chen Jianzhang? He is the young master of Black Cloud Mountain. It is no exaggeration to say that Chen Jianzhang's identity is comparable to that of the Prince of the ancient Red Fire Kingdom. This young man actually dared to hold Chen Jianzhang's neck and lift him up from the ground. Chen Jianzhang did not expect that the young man in front of him would dare to attack him. Furious, he suddenly punched Yang Xiaoshan. "Boy, you are looking for death." He punched Yang Xiaoshan in the chest. At the moment when his fist hit Yang Xiaoshan's chest, his face changed drastically because his fist seemed to hit the terrifying iron wall. Bang! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Chen Jianzhang screamed and saw that the 5 fingers of his right fist were actually shattered. Yang Xiaoshan has been practicing the dragon art every day for these years, regardless of wind and rain. The defense of his dragon emperor body is so terrifying. Not to mention Chen Jianzhang, a martial arts master. Even the most powerful martial emperor can't hurt Yang Xiaoshan. Young master. Seeing this, all the masters of Black Cloud Mountain were furious and drew their swords to cut Yang Xiaoshan. Seeing this, the eyes of the devil ancestor of destruction turned cold, and the supreme magic power was activated. The demonic energy rolled, and the body of the demon behind him condensed. He opened his mouth, and the terrifying devouring power enveloped the masters of Black Cloud Mountain. In the blink of an eye, the blood and essence of the masters of Black Cloud Mountain gushed out crazily, and they were all sucked dry. Everyone gasped when they saw this. The army masters from the Red Fire ancient nation who had just surrounded him retreated in fear, looking at the devil ancestor Mishan in fear. The war prince and the holy fire saint also retreated in fear. The masters around them all stared at the devil ancestor Mishan, as if they were facing a great enemy. Chapter 353 Deathbone Mountain. Chen Jianzhang also looked at the devil ancestor Mishan in horror. The dozens of people he brought this time were all the elites of their demon cloud mountain, but they were sucked dry in the blink of an eye. Such means are too horrible. At this moment, Yang Xiaoshan punched Chen Jianzhang in the belly and blasted him away. Chen Jianzhang rolled to the edge of the cliff, hunched over, tears streaming down his face, and his face turned green. Yang Xiaoshan ignored Chen Jianzhang and walked towards Chixuhao. Chixuhao's face changed and his fists clenched, but in the end, he chose to step aside. Yang Xiaoshan led the devil ancestor Mishan and several others into the demon ape ridge. The figures of several people quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. Seeing Yang Xiaoshan and others disappear, those independent cultivators and masters of small families were in an uproar. Who is this human boy? How dare he kill so many masters of Black Cloud Mountain? Behind Black Cloud Mountain is the Three-Eyed River clan. This is simply outrageous. He trespassed into the demon ape ridge without the Red Fire Holy Order. This is an open provocation to the Red Fire Ancient Country. Just wait and see. The Red Fire Ancient Country will definitely send masters and a large army to come. More than a decade ago, a master also trespassed into the demon ape ridge relying on his strength. His Majesty the Red Fire Ancient Country sent a large army to capture him. Later, that master was imprisoned in the black prison of the Red Fire Ancient Country. Until now, he has not been able to see the light of day again, and he has to suffer various tortures every day. The people around were talking about it. Lin Meyer of the Mei clan looked at Yang Xiaoshan's disappearing figure, but she was surprised and suspicious. She said to the beautiful figure beside her, Aunt Jiang, does this human boy have a divine body? If it is not a divine body, how could he be hit by Chen Jianzhang's punch, and not only be fine, but also shatter the opponent's 5 fingers? Aunt Jiang also looked at Yang Xiaoshan's disappearing figure with a look of surprise and suspicion. She pondered and said, it should be some kind of divine body. She was not very sure. Can you tell how strong that demon master is? Lin Mir asked, referring to the devil ancestor of destruction. Aunt Jiang's face was solemn. I'm afraid this person's strength is even higher than mine. Lin Mir was shocked. He was even stronger than Aunt Jiang? Princess, we'll go into the demon ape ridge and find something, then we'll leave. Aunt Jiang said. This time when she entered the demon ape ridge, she always felt uneasy, always felt that something big was going to happen. Lin Mir nodded. The two of them broke through the air and flashed into the demon ape ridge. After Lin Mir and the others entered the demon ape ridge, Chen Jianzhang stood up tremblingly. He bent over and looked at the direction where Yang Xiaoshan left, with only endless murderous intent in his eyes. Boy, I want you to die. I want your whole family to die, your whole clan to die. Chen Jianzhang roared with resentment, his eyes bloodshot. Not long after Yang Xiaoshan entered the demon ape ridge, the Red Blood Marquis reported what happened in the demon ape ridge back to the Red Fire Palace. Soon, the Red Fire Army flew out of the Red Fire King City and came all the way. Just as the Red Fire Army came, groups of strong men flew out of the Black Cloud Mountain not far from the Demon Ape Ridge and rushed to the Demon Ape Ridge. Yang Xiaoshan didn't know all this. Although the Demon Ape Ridge is called a ridge, it is composed of many peaks, and the peaks are endless. The Demon Ape Ridge is very big. I'm afraid even the king of the Red Fire Ancient Country is not very clear about how big it is. There are many places in the Demon Ape Ridge that have always been regarded as forbidden areas. Even many ancestors of the Red Fire Ancient Country dare not step into these dangerous forbidden areas. The disappearance of the ancient ancestor of the dwarf tribe, Man Lei, may be related to these forbidden areas. Therefore, after Yang Xiaoshan entered the Demon Ape Ridge, he came to these forbidden areas. The first place Yang Xiaoshan came to was a swamp. This swamp was very large. It was full of black plants. The whole swamp was terribly quiet, so quiet that it made people palpitate. A grey-green mist floated over the swamp. Young master, be careful. Bingai and Killen stared at the swamp in front of him and said, there are several very strong breaths of death and darkness in this swamp. Yang Xiaoshan nodded and started to use the dragon art. The wings of the real dragon behind him spread out, and at the same time he put on a divine armor. This divine armor was found in the space ring of the deep sea demon Kun after killing him. Under caution, Yang Ocean still summoned the Abyss spaceship and entered the Abyss spaceship with Bingai and Killin in the other two and drove the Abyss spaceship slowly into the swamp. Perhaps it was because of the breath of the Abyss Lord and the deep sea demon Kun on the Abyss spaceship that frightened the dead things and dark monsters in the depths of the swamp that wanted to attack. In the swamp, Yang Ocean unfolded the power of his soul and searched for the whereabouts of Man Lei. Man Fang gave him a personal item of Man Lei, which had the breath of Man Lei on it. As long as there was the breath of Man Lei within a certain range around, he would be able to sense it. Just when Yang Ocean came to the depths of the swamp, suddenly, he sensed a breath exactly the same as Man Lei coming from the bottom of the swamp. After the accident, Yang Ocean quickly drove the spaceship to break through the swamp and entered the bottom of the swamp. This swamp is very deep. After going down 100 meters, Yang Ocean suddenly saw a big hole in the mountain wall in front of him, and the breath of wild thunder came from it. Yang Ocean put away the spaceship and came to the big hole with Bingai and Killin and others. As soon as they entered the big hole, they sensed the extremely strong aura of death. This aura of death was like endless waves, and waves after waves continued to pour out from it. Several people were shocked. Even Bingai and Killin saw such a strong and amazing aura of death for the first time. Bingai and Killin and the other two were running their divine power and guarding Yang Ocean closely. Carefully, Yang Ocean summoned the Thousand Buddhas' divine fire. Suddenly, the shadows of the Thousand Buddhas appeared behind him, and the Buddha's light shone everywhere, and the aura of death was dispersed. Several people stepped carefully into the cave. Not long after entering the cave, they saw a bone mountain in front of them. A mountain of thousands of feet made up of human skulls. The terrifying aura of death was emitted from this mountain of bones. Yang Ocean was shocked to find that the Buddha's light of the Thousand Buddhas' divine fire, shining on this mountain of bones, could not dispel the aura of death from this mountain of bones. Not only did the aura of death not dissipate, but it formed a death barrier that circulated endlessly, blocking the Buddha's light of the Thousand Buddhas' divine fire. Several people were shocked. The Thousand Buddhas' divine fire is a divine fire, the nemesis of all death and demonic energy, but it could not break the death aura of the mountain of bones. What kind of death aura is this? Chapter 354, Immortal Death. When Yang Ocean was shocked, he saw a broken axe on the ground in front of the 10,000 feet bone mountain. The breath of Man Lei came from the broken axe. Obviously, the broken axe was Man Lei's weapon. Man Lei had been here. Just when Yang Ocean was in doubt, suddenly, the death aura of the 10,000 feet bone mountain roared wildly, and a skull flew up through the air. The grey light was shaking, and the skull, that was originally the size of a human head, actually swelled up in the wind, and became as big as a mountain. The skull let out a shrill and strange roar, opened its huge mouth, and bit Yang Ocean and the others frantically. Before the skull arrived, the terrifying death aura was overwhelming, making people nauseous. The ice flame Kirin suddenly blasted out with a palm. Boom. With a loud bang, the skull was blasted. However, what surprised several people was that the skull that had just been blasted was shrouded by the death aura of the 10,000 feet bone mountain, and it actually condensed again and recovered as before. Immortal Death Key. Bingai and Killin, Shine King Thunder Python, and Immortal Demon Ancestor thought of something at the same time, and all of them said in unison. Their faces changed drastically. It was as if they had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. Immortal Death Key. Yang Ocean was also surprised. He had seen records about Immortal Death Key in the ancient books left by the Thousand Buddha Medicine God, but the Thousand Buddha Medicine God did not record it in detail, only saying that Immortal Death Key was the most terrifying death key. This kind of death key is extremely terrifying. Even the divine fire can compete. At this time, there was another shrill and strange howl, and dozens of skulls flew out of the 10,000 feet bone mountain at the same time, rising in the wind, biting Yang Ocean and his men at the same time. Bingai and Killin and the other three were shocked and attacked at the same time. However, just like before, even after the three of them blew up these dozens of skulls, they instantly condensed again and recovered as before. Then, Hundreds of skulls flew up from the 10,000 feet Bone Mountain and launched a third round of attacks on Yang Xiaoshan and his men. "Young master, retreat quickly," Bing Iron Killin said in shock as he looked at the hundreds of skulls as big as a mountain attacking. They could still deal with hundreds of skulls, but what about thousands and tens of thousands of skulls? Besides, there are more than tens of thousands of skulls on the 10,000 feet Bone Mountain. I'm afraid there are millions. If millions of skulls come at once, not to mention the 3 Bing Iron Killins, even Jianzu Jiwudi may not be able to resist. Retreat. Yang Xiaoshan knew that he couldn't stay here for long, so he said immediately, and at the same time, he used all his strength to support the power of the 1,000 Buddha's divine fire. Suddenly, the Buddha's light surged, and the Buddha's flames were like the sea. The attack of the hundreds of skulls slowed down. Yang Xiaoshan and his men took the opportunity to exit the cave. What made them feel relieved was that after they exited the cave, the hundreds of skulls did not attack them again. Driving the Abyss spaceship, they returned to the sky above the swamp. The undead death key has actually appeared. The sky blue thunder python looked at the bottom of the swamp, still in shock. Yang Xiaoshan had never seen Bing Iron Killin and Giant King Thunder Python look so solemn. With the emergence of the immortal death energy, the Kangshan continent is going to change drastically. Mishan Demon Ancestor was also terrified. Those skulls just now were obviously controlled by someone behind the scenes, so they took the initiative to attack them. Thinking of the person behind the scenes, Mishan Demon Ancestor was shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. Immortal death energy. Yang Xiaoshan asked Bing Iron Killin inquiringly. Back then, Lord Kangshan had several great enemies. One was the undefeated Hades god, and the other was the undead death god. Bing Iron Killin took a deep breath and said. When he mentioned the undefeated Hades god and the undead death god, his voice trembled a little. These two people can be said to be demons covering the heavens. Compared to these two people, the giant demons in Kangshan continent are just small ants. Yang Xiaoshan was surprised and asked, "Old Bing, do you mean that the undead death god cultivates the immortal death energy?" "That's right." Bing Iron Killin nodded seriously. Thinking of the various terrifying legends about the undead death god, his heart beat differently. The immortal death aura of the immortal death god is extremely terrifying. Even Lord Kangshan could not extinguish the immortal death aura back then. The Azure Thunder Python said with a dry mouth, "Only the top 3 divine fires can suppress the immortal death aura. The top 3 divine fires, and the 1,000 Buddha's divine fire is only rank 10th. No wonder it couldn't suppress the immortal death aura just now. Could it be that the immortal death god was in the cave just now?" When the devil ancestor of destruction said this, his face changed. The immortal death god is known as the ancestor of the dead spirits in the Kangshan continent. Such an existence can probably destroy them 100 times with just a finger. Impossible. Bing Iron Killin reacted violently and shook his head and said, "The divine book records that Lord Kangshan had killed the immortal death god back then. How could he still be alive?" The Azure Thunder Python swallowed and said, "If the immortal death god is still alive, then the Kangshan continent will probably become a hell. Once the immortal death aura invades the body, everyone will become a dead spirit." Yang Xiaoshan's heart sank. Maybe it's not the immortal god of death. Have you forgotten the immortal evil lord from 100,000 years ago? Bing Iron Killin suddenly said. When the immortal evil lord was mentioned, the Azure Thunder Python and the immortal demon ancestor were also shocked, and their faces changed. Bing Iron Killin said to Yang Xiaoshan, 100,000 years ago, the immortal evil lord obtained the immortal god cannon of the immortal god of death, set off a raging sea of blood, and slaughtered countless super sects. His strength is so strong that he is comparable to the immortal god of death back then. No one can stop him. Yang Xiaoshan was surprised. What happened later? Later, it was Lord Kangshan who personally took action to kill the immortal evil lord. Bing Iron Killin said. But when he said this, he stopped. Since the immortal god of death and the immortal evil lord were both killed, what about the immortal death key that appeared in the cave just now? Who is controlling the immortal death key? Everyone was horrified. Let's go to the Demon Ape Mountain. Without further ado, Yang Xiaoshan drove the spaceship to the Demon Ape Mountain deep in the Demon Ape Ridge. That was where the Demon Ape was sealed. After taming the Demon Ape, they had to leave Demon Ape Ridge as soon as possible. He always felt that something big was going to happen in Demon Ape Ridge. Just as Yang Ocean and his companions were rushing to Demon Ape Mountain, a young man was sitting cross-legged in the deepest part of the 10,000 feet bone mountain in the cave. This young man had flesh and blood in his lower body like an ordinary person, but his head was a skull. Undead aura was wrapped around his body, and he turned into one immortal creature after another, which was 100 times more terrifying than the immortal aura that Yang Ocean and his companions had seen. The young man ran the undead divine code over and over again, and as he ran the undead divine code, flesh and blood began to grow on his neck. This was a sign that the undead divine code was about to be completed. Once his head also grew flesh and blood, it would mean that the undead divine code had been completed. By then, he would be immortal. After his neck grew flesh and blood, his face gradually grew flesh and blood. Finally, it was the top of his head. Finally, the last piece of flesh and blood grew on the top of his head. The young man opened his eyes, and the undead death energy around him exploded. A terrifying force rushed into the sky, and the cave exploded. The sky and the earth became dark, as if the world was about to end. Chapter 355, Heart Connecting Demonic Ape. The Thousand Buddha's divine fire is actually in the hands of a young man. A human boy can actually control the Thousand Buddha's divine fire. The young man showed a wicked smile that made people shudder. Interesting. It seems that I will not be too lonely this time. Little guy, we will see each other again. His laughter echoed in the cave, shaking the rocks in the cave. At this time, Yang Ocean and his friends finally arrived at the Demon Ape Mountain. The Demon Ape Mountain is also one of the forbidden areas of the Demon Ape Ridge, so it is sparsely populated and as quiet as a death swamp. Bingai and Killin, Shine King Li Mang and the other two looked solemn as they looked at the towering Demon Ape Mountain in front of them. Others could not sense the violent killing intent of the Demon Ape Mountain, but they all sensed it. This violent killing intent came from the deepest underground of the Demon Ape Mountain. Young master, the suppressed Demon Ape is in the deepest underground of the Demon Ape Mountain. Bingai and Killin said to Yang Ocean. Is there any way to get in? Yang Ocean asked. Ice Flame Kirin's eyes were filled with blue ice flames, and he passed through the mountains of the Demon Ape Mountain, and looked at the deepest part of the Demon Ape Mountain. Soon, he retracted his gaze, and said to Yang Ocean, you can go in, but you need to rely on the power of the young master's divine fire. After getting the affirmative reply from Ice Flame Kirin, Yang Ocean said, okay, then we will go in now. Now, he couldn't delay for a moment. Under the power of the 11 sword hearts, he sensed that the death energy in the cave was getting stronger and stronger, and more terrifying. So, Ice Flame Kirin transformed into its original form, and Yang Ocean rode on it, and flew to the deepest part of the Demon Ape Mountain. The Azure Thunder Python and the Devil Ancestor of Destruction followed closely. Soon, Yang Ocean and his companions arrived at the deepest part of the Demon Ape Mountain. I saw that the ground at the deepest part of the Demon Ape Mountain was covered with layers of black ice. No wonder Ice Flame Kirin said before that he would rely on his divine firepower. Yang Ocean did not hesitate, and immediately summoned the Thousand Buddha's divine fire. Under the power of the Thousand Buddha's divine fire, the black ice continued to melt. Finally, Yang Ocean felt that it was not fast enough, so he summoned the Thunder Tribulation divine fire as well. The two divine fires started working together to melt the black ice that was 100 feet thick. The Devil Ancestor Mishine was thirsty. He had not been with Yang Ocean for long, and it was the first time he saw Yang Ocean controlling the two divine fires. After melting the black ice, the Ice Flame Kirin's whole body was stretched with ice blue flames, breaking the ground, and led Yang Ocean and his men to continue to go underground. There is a cold vein under the Demon Ape Mountain. Over the years, the mountain has turned into ice soil, which is extremely hard. Even if the Ice Flame Kirin's ice blue flame is fully open, it is difficult to break the ice soil. Fortunately, there are Yang Ocean's two divine fires. However, after reaching 1,000 feet below, the ice soil became harder and harder, and the speed of the few people was hindered. After an hour of hard work, the few people finally came to the underground. The underground of the Demon Ape Mountain is a super large space. It is empty. In the middle of the flat ground, there stood an extremely huge demon ape with black hair all over its body. The demon ape was full of demonic energy, and its arms and hands were all locked by 10,000 feet long chains. Around the demon ape were 4 10,000 feet long pillars, and the iron chains were connected to these 4 10,000 feet long pillars. The pillars seemed to extend from the depths of the ground and became one with the entire mountain. From a distance, the demon ape looked like a black mountain that supported the sky, and the sky behind it was completely blocked by the demon ape. The ice flame Kirin and the sky blue thunder python were big enough, but the demon ape in front of them was even taller and 2 times bigger. Sensing the arrival of Yang Xiaoshan and his group, the demon ape opened its eyes. Suddenly, a raging killing rushed towards Yang Xiaoshan and his group like a tsunami. Yang Xiaoshan was shocked that the demon ape's killing intention was so shocking. I'm afraid that many emperors can't bear this killing intention alone. The demon ape's eyes were blood red, staring at Yang Xiaoshan and his group. The devil ancestor of destruction had already broken through the realm of the gods a few days ago, but at this moment, being stared at by the eyes of the demon ape, he still felt scared. Yang Xiaoshan and his companions flew towards the demon ape. Seeing this, the demon ape slowly stood up from the ground. When it stood up, it was like a mountain hitting the ground, and the ground shook continuously, as if a major earthquake had occurred. Looking at the demon ape standing up, Yang Xiaoshan and his companions were shocked. The demon ape that stood up was more than twice as tall as before, and it was almost blocking out the sky and the sun. However, the demon ape's limbs were locked, and its range of movement could only be around the stone pillar. Beast God, Ice Flame Kirin, Sky Blue Thunder Python. It stared at the Ice Flame Kirin under Yang Xiaoshan's seat and the Sky Blue Thunder Python behind him, with a little surprise in its eyes. A young man actually subdued 2 beast gods, which made the demon ape very suspicious. Heart to heart demon ape. The Ice Flame Kirin also recognized the true form of the demon ape in front of him. The heart to heart demon ape, like the Sky Blue Thunder Python before it evolved, is the king of divine beasts. The Tarnxin demon ape in front of him was very powerful, far superior to the Ice Flame Kirin and the Azure Thunder Python. Although the Ice Flame Kirin and the Azure Thunder Python were super beasts, even if they joined forces, they would not be the opponent of the Tarnxin demon ape. Yang Xiaoshan stared at the Tarnxin demon ape. There was a very shocking wound on the opponent's chest, extending from its shoulder to the bottom of its belly. The wound was like a big rift valley. Looking at the wound, it should be a sword wound. I wonder if it was injured by the Xian Lang sword god back then, and it has not recovered after so many years. What are you doing here? The demon ape asked. His voice was like thunder, shaking the space. Yang Xiaoshan said, Senior, do you want to leave here? I can let you leave here. The demon ape was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and then laughed loudly. The space was shaking, and the terrifying demonic energy rolled and blasted the entire demon ape mountain with rocks rolling. Little guy, can you let me leave this place? It laughed. Even I can't get rid of this iron lock. Do you have a way to open it? Do you know what this iron lock is made of? Black crystal cold iron. Yang Xiaoshan said. Black crystal cold iron is the hardest kind of ironstone in the world. The demon ape stopped laughing and stared at Yang Xiaoshan. Since you know it is black crystal cold iron, you should know that it is one of the hardest kinds of ironstone in the world. Yang Xiaoshan did not speak, but took out a sword. Seeing the sword in Yang Xiaoshan's hand, the demon ape was shocked. Sword of the god of Kang. That's right, what Yang Xiaoshan took out was the sword of the god of Kang. Although the sword of the god of Kang has not been completely repaired, it is still no problem to cut off this black crystal cold iron. You actually got the inheritance of the lord of the god of Kang. The demon ape looked at Yang Xiaoshan, his eyes full of shock. After a million years, the sword of the god of Kang was born. Or in the hands of a human boy. How could it not be shocked? I can let you leave this place and give you freedom, but you need to be my mount. Yang Xiaoshan didn't waste any words and explained his purpose. Now, he urgently needs a subordinate in the divine realm. Chapter 356, The Immortal Death Key Birth. The demon ape was stunned. It stared at Yang Xiaoshan and the Kangshan sword in Yang Xiaoshan's hand. It looked gloomy and took a deep breath. Okay, if you can let me regain my freedom, I will be your beast. It understood what the Kangshan sword meant. That's why it didn't have too many concerns and hesitations. In the future, when Yangtze Ocean was in charge of the Kangshan continent, it would be a supreme honor for it to be Yangtze Ocean's beast. So, Yangtze Ocean let the demon ape release its soul, and planted a spiritual imprint in the sea of the demon ape's soul with the blood contract. With his current soul power, he could completely control the three beasts. Yangtze Ocean then poured his true essence, and chopped at the iron lock. Zeng. There was a loud bang. The iron lock emitted an amazing cold light. But what surprised Yangtze Ocean was that the black crystal cold iron lock was harder than he imagined. He chopped it with all his strength, leaving only a clear gap on the iron lock. Each iron lock was several meters thick. If he chopped it like this, he might not be able to cut a single iron lock in an hour. It would take more than half a day to cut all 4 iron chains. Yangtze Ocean frowned and simply took out the Tangshan sword. Tangshan sword. Seeing the second sword Yangtze Ocean took out, the demon ape's eyes widened. Oh my god. It turned out to be the Tangshan sword of Lord Hanfeng. The master it just recognized will be the future lord of the Wuhan world. Its breathing became different. Yangtze Ocean poured his true essence and chopped down the 2 swords at the same time. After a loud and clear sound, this time, the gap in the iron chain was much deeper. Seeing this, Yangtze Ocean urged the power of the 1000 Buddha's fire, and the Tangshan sword suddenly burst into Buddha flames. Seeing that it was the 1000 Buddha's fire, the demon ape was shocked, but then it saw that the Tangshan sword was shining brightly and bursting with thunder and fire. Thunder, tribulation, fire. 2 great fires. 2 great swords. The demon ape doubted his life for the first time. Yangtze Ocean hesitated for a moment and summoned the 2 great golden pills. Seeing the 2 divine golden pills flying out of Yangtze Ocean's body, the demon ape was almost frightened to kneel on the ground. Thinking of the immortal death energy in the cave, Yangtze Ocean summoned out the 2,000,000-year soul rings again. Seeing the 2 supreme king martial spirits and 2,000,000-year soul rings flying out of Yangtze Ocean, the demon ape completely collapsed to the ground, and the original monstrous killing intention had completely disappeared. The devil ancestor of destruction was also trembling with fear when he saw Yangtze Ocean's 2 supreme king martial spirits and 2,000,000-year soul rings. The ice flame Killin and the sky blue thunder python were fine, but they were also terrified. Those were the soul rings of the Lord of the Abyss and the deep sea demon Kun. The aura of these 2 big guys alone was enough to scare many beasts to death. Under full firepower, as expected, Yangtze Ocean chopped down again, and a deep gap was cut into the iron chain. Yangtze Ocean was very excited and chopped down again and again. Bang! With a sound. Finally, an iron chain was cut off. Yangtze Ocean did the same thing, and cut off the 2nd and 3rd chains. When Yangtze Ocean cut off the 4th iron chain, the demon ape finally regained its freedom. However, although one end of the iron chain was cut off, the other end still tied the demon ape's hands and feet. So Yangtze Ocean drew his sword again, and cut off the iron chains on the demon ape's hands and feet. Old ape thanks you for your kindness, young master. The demon ape thanked Yangtze Ocean with great excitement. It had been imprisoned at the bottom of the demon ape mountain for thousands of years, and it was a life worse than death. Now, it has finally regained its freedom. The demon ape thanked, and the ground shook. It was seen that the ground was knocked out by its head. A terrifying deep pit was seen. Yangtze Ocean looked at the terrifying deep pit on the ground, smiled bitterly, and let the demon ape get up. Seeing the wound on the demon ape's chest that looked like a large rift valley, Yangtze Ocean took out a mouthful of the 6th heaven tribulation thunder water and a life-extending pill, and asked the demon ape to swallow it. The demon ape was even more grateful when he saw that Yangtze Ocean was willing to take out the 6th heaven tribulation thunder water for it to swallow to heal its wounds. After swallowing the 6-fold heavenly tribulation thunder water and the heavenly grade life-sustaining pill, the wound on the demon ape's rift shrank a lot, but it still couldn't heal. Back then, the sword wound that the heavenly dragon sword god left on the demon ape was fatal. Even a natural treasure like the 6-fold heavenly tribulation thunder water couldn't completely heal it in a short time. Yangtze Ocean knew that this couldn't be rushed, so he immediately took the ice flame Kirin and the others to leave the underground space of the demon ape mountain. Coming out of the demon ape mountain, the Tonks and demon ape looked at the mountain and the river in front of him and felt that they were so beautiful. At this time, he had changed into a human form, taller than the ice flame Kirin and the sky blue thunder python, almost 3 meters tall. Standing behind Yang Ocean, he was simply a giant. What's more rare is that not only his chest is covered with black hair, but his entire body is covered with black hair. Just this appearance alone makes people feel creepy. Just when Yang Ocean and the others were about to leave, suddenly, there was a loud bang. The Demon Ape Mountain shook violently. No, not only the Demon Ape Mountain was shaking violently, but the entire Demon Ape Ridge was shaking violently. An extremely terrifying force swept across the entire Demon Ape Ridge. It was as if something terrifying was awakening. What was going on? All the family masters who entered the Demon Ape Ridge were shocked. Then, everyone saw that the terrifying death energy rushed into the sky like a raging wave, and it actually covered all the peaks. The power of death rolled up the world. Immortal death energy. Yang Ocean and his companions' faces changed drastically. Even the Demon Ape was shocked. Immortal death energy has been born. Young master, hurry up. The sky blue thunder python said in a hurry. Yang Ocean did not hesitate, and summoned the abyss spaceship, driving the spaceship to break through the air, and rushed out of the Demon Ape Ridge with several people. At this moment, the raging death energy was like a tsunami at the end of the world, madly sweeping towards every corner of the Demon Ape Ridge. Suddenly, a shrill scream rang out. Yang Ocean looked over, and saw that some family disciples who could not escape, were instantly swallowed by the immortal death energy. The family disciples who were devoured by the immortal death aura were in great pain. Their flesh and blood began to corrode, as if they were poured with terrible sulfuric acid. Their whole bodies were bubbling and extremely horrible. In a corner of the Demon Ape Ridge, the Mei clan princess Linmir and Aunt Jiang also saw the monstrous death aura. Immortal death aura. Aunt Jiang also recognized the death aura in front of her. Even though she was wearing a veil, she could still see the fear on her face. Princess, go. She screamed in shock, and was about to take Linmir to break through the air and escape, but they were still a step too late. They saw that the immortal death aura had already surged from all directions. The sky and the ground were all filled with immortal death aura. Aunt Jiang roared in shock and anger, and sacrificed a peerless sword. With one sword, she madly slashed at the immortal death aura, and finally tore open a crack large enough to accommodate one person. Princess, go. She sent Linmir out of the crack with a palm. When she was about to go out, the crack closed again. Seeing this, Linmir screamed, Aunt Jiang. Aunt Jiang looked at the overwhelming immortal death energy, and slashed out with the sword in her hand again with all her strength, but this time, she could only cut a crack on the huge wave of immortal death energy, and she couldn't escape at all. Looking at the immortal death energy that was madly swallowing her, she yelled to Linmir outside, Princess, don't worry about me, run away, escape from Demon Ape Ridge. The immortal death energy has come into the world, and the world has changed drastically. Go back and tell the clan leader and the ancestors. Chapter 357, Heavenly Demon Princess. As soon as Aunt Jiang finished speaking, she was completely wrapped by the huge wave of immortal death energy and disappeared. Aunt Jiang. Linmir looked at Aunt Jiang who was completely wrapped by the immortal death energy, and screamed in anger, and slashed at the immortal death energy with the long sword in her hand. But her power was completely useless when slashing at the immortal death energy. Not to mention slashing a crack, there was not even a thin crack. Aunt Jiang. She cried. At this time, the immortal death energy rushed towards her madly. Seeing this, Linmir angrily slashed with her sword, and flew out at the same time. But there were too many immortal death energy, and it was too strong. Soon, she was constantly caught up, and wrapped by these immortal death energy. Help. Looking at the death energy that was wrapping around her, Linmir didn't care about her identity as a princess, and screamed in panic. She swung her sword frantically, but she couldn't cut through the immortal death energy around her. Yang Ocean drove the abyss spaceship, and saw Linmir who was constantly wrapped by the immortal death energy from a distance. After hesitating for a while, he decided to save Linmir. If he didn't take action, Linmir would die. Help save her. Yang Ocean said. The demon ape immediately slapped out with his palm. Suddenly, a giant palm covering the sky appeared in the sky, and the demonic energy of the giant palm rolled down. The death energy that was constantly wrapping around Linmir was slapped and exploded. Just now, Aunt Jiang's full strength sword could only cut a crack, but now the demon ape's palm directly slapped the death energy, which shows how powerful it is. Lin Mi looked at the demon ape in shock, a giant covered with black hair. "Get on the ship," Yang Xiaoshan shouted. Lin Mi woke up and flew onto the spaceship. Yang Xiaoshan drove the spaceship away. On the way, when he encountered the immortal death energy rushing towards the spaceship, the demon ape directly slapped it with a palm. It was simply a god blocking the way, and the death energy blocked it and slapped the death energy. Seeing the strength of the demon ape, Yang Xiaoshan nodded secretly, and it was worth his great effort to rescue the demon ape. At this time, the Red Fire Army that came from the Red Fire King City and the thousands of strong men that came from Black Cloud Mountain also saw the terrifying death energy in the demon ape ridge. What kind of death energy is this? How can there be such a terrifying death energy in the demon ape ridge? The face of the Red Blood Marquis changed drastically. He had guarded the demon ape ridge for many years, but this was the first time he saw such a terrifying death energy. It's the immortal death energy. The immortal death energy has come into the world. Run away. Suddenly, in the crowd, an unknown ancestor screamed in fear and fled madly. What? Immortal death energy? The Red Blood Marquis and the Red Fire Army that rushed over all changed their faces and retreated in shock. Retreat quickly. The Black Cloud Mountain Master who rushed over also shouted in shock, and then pulled Chen Jianzong back quickly and fled out. The masters of various sects and schools who were about to enter the demon ape bridge for the trial were all scared and fled when they heard that it was the immortal death energy. In an instant, all the strong men on the outskirts of the demon ape bridge fled completely. In the demon ape ridge, the death energy was rolling and flooding all corners. Yang Xiaoshan's spaceship broke through the heavy death energy and finally flew out of the demon ape ridge. Although the immortal death energy did not rush out of the demon ape ridge, Yang Xiaoshan did not dare to stay for a moment and drove the spaceship to fly out at a high speed. After flying out of the Red Fire ancient country, Yang Xiaoshan stopped. Night fell. In the wild mountains and ridges, Yang Xiaoshan and several others sat around the campfire. The merry clan son Lin Mi sat next to Yang Xiaoshan with a sad face, still grieving for Aunt Jiang's death. Suddenly, a figure landed, and it was the devil ancestor Mishan who went out to inquire about the news. "How is it?" Yang Xiaoshan asked hurriedly. Almost all the sect disciples who entered the demon ape bridge were swallowed up by the death energy. The devil ancestor Mishan shook his head and said, "But the strange thing is that the immortal death energy did not rush out of the demon ape ridge." Hearing that the immortal death energy did not rush out of the demon ape ridge, Yang Xiaoshan felt relieved. However, he knew that it was only a matter of time before the immortal death energy would break out of the demon ape ridge. Thinking that the immortal death energy would sweep across the Kangshan continent in the future, Yang Xiaoshan felt heavy in his heart. Now the people of the Chihuo ancient country and the surrounding ancient countries are in a panic, and the people in the border cities are even more panicked, fleeing madly, and it has become a mess. The devil ancestor of destruction said, and suddenly, he changed the subject and said, "By the way, young master, I heard that the princess of the Shiniao tribe set up an arena in Shiniao city to challenge the young talents of the world." Yang Xiaoshan was surprised. Why? At this time, Lin Mi said, Xianwan King is very warlike and often comes to challenge the geniuses of various tribes. Later, she felt that it was too troublesome to challenge them one by one, so she set up an arena to challenge the geniuses of all tribes in the world. She did this a few years ago. Xianwan King is the Xianiao princess. The Xianiao princess is also one of the top 10 Xianjiao of the 100 Races Empire, and the leader of the top 10 Xianjiao of the 100 Races Empire. In terms of talent and strength, she is stronger than Zillow and Lin Mi in front of her, and much stronger. Xianwan King was born with the blood of the crazy demon. The crazy demon blood is the strongest blood in ancient times. People with this blood are naturally warlike and almost crazy. Princess Xianyao said that whoever can defeat her can get 1 billion low-grade spirit stones, 100 top-grade 3-element purple gold pills. In addition, they can choose a treasure from the treasure house of the Xianyao clan. Xian Mozu said, as soon as the news came out, almost all the geniuses of the 100 clan empire rushed to Xianyao city. Even many geniuses of the elf clan rushed to Xianyao city. Lin Mi shook her head and said, "This crazy woman. 1 billion low-grade spirit stones. This reward is simply too crazy. You have to know that many super sects can't get 1 billion low-grade spirit stones, even if they sell their pots and irons, not to mention 100 top grade 3-element purple gold pills, and they can choose a treasure from the treasure house of the Shine Yao clan. Yang Xiaoshen's heart moved, and he asked, "Can I choose any treasure from the treasure house of the Heavenly Demon clan?" "Yes, young master." The heaven-destroying demon ancestor nodded and said, "I heard that the piece of innate divine iron that you want is in the treasure house of the Heavenly Demon clan." Yang Xiaoshen immediately stood up and said, "Go to the Heavenly Demon clan." Now that the immortal death energy has appeared, he must urgently repair the Kangshan sword and cultivate 14 sword hearts as soon as possible. Legend has it that, after cultivating 14 sword hearts, one will have incredible power. Yang Xiaoshen asked Linmei if she wanted to go to the Heavenly Demon clan together. Linmei hesitated. She wanted to follow Yang Xiaoshen to the Heavenly Demon clan, but now Aunt Jiang is dead and the immortal death energy has appeared. She needs to go back to the Mei clan. Finally, she gritted her teeth and said, "Young master, go to the Celestial Demon clan first. I will go back to the Mei clan first, and then go to the Celestial Demon clan. I don't know your name, but Linmei will definitely repay you for saving me in the future." Seeing that Linmei was going back to the Mei clan, Yang Xiaoshen nodded. "My name is Yang Xiaoshen." Then, several people set off for the Celestial Demon clan. Since there was a section of the road that was on the way, Linmei took Yang Xiaoshen's spaceship and left together. After dawn, Linmei and Yang Xiaoshen separated. Looking at Yang Xiaoshen's departing figure, Linmei said, "Yang Xiaoshen." She memorized this name deep in her heart and left through the air. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358, Heavenly Demon Arena. The Abyss spaceship did not stop all the way, and after a few days, it arrived at the Shine Yao clan. Since the news of the emergence of the immortal death energy and the demon ape bridge has spread, the Shine Yao clan has obviously strengthened its defense, and the border troops are tight. However, after entering the territory of the Shine Yao clan, the major cities are still prosperous and orderly. People seem to be unaffected by the immortal death energy, and they eat and drink as they should. When they arrived at Shine Yao City, it was already dark. Shine Yao City was very prosperous, with a lot of traffic. Since the Shine Yao princess set up a ring, strong people from all tribes can be seen everywhere. "Let's go to a nearby restaurant to rest for a night, and then go to the ring tomorrow," Yang Xiaoshen said to several people. Although Shine Wan King set up a ring, she did not accept challenges at night, so Yang Xiaoshen planned to find a restaurant to rest for a night, and then go to the ring tomorrow. So Yang Xiaoshen and several people asked about nearby restaurants, and walked towards the nearby restaurants. Soon, Yang Xiaoshen came to the 100 Clan restaurant. The 100 Clan restaurant is the largest restaurant in the 100 Clan empire, and it is very impressive. Yang Xiaoshen and his companions walked into the restaurant, which was decorated in a magnificent style. Many seats were already occupied. Seeing an empty table near the window, Yang Xiaoshen and his companions walked over. However, just as Yang Xiaoshen and his companions were about to walk to the empty table, they were stopped by a young man from the Three-Eyed River clan. The young man sneered, "Boy, that table has been reserved." Yang Xiaoshen frowned. He called the waiter and asked him if the empty table had been reserved. The waiter hesitated. Yang Xiaoshen saw the waiter's expression and understood what was going on. Obviously, the empty table was not reserved, but the young man from the Three-Eyed River clan did not want him to sit there. At this time, the young man from the Three-Eyed River clan drank a big sip of wine, sat there, and said with disdain, "Boy, do you think you, a human, are qualified to sit down and drink like us? If you humans want to drink, you can only drink while standing." Another master of the Three-Eyed River clan laughed. "If you ask me, the human race is not even qualified to drink while standing. You can only drink while lying on the ground like a dog." The masters of the Three-Eyed River clan laughed. The masters of the Sky Demon clan, the Elf clan, and even the Charm clan laughed out loud. Yang Xiaoshan raised his foot and kicked the young man from the Three-Eyed River clan out. Then, Yang Xiaoshan punched the other 3 masters of the Three-Eyed River clan out. Afterwards, Yang Xiaoshan pulled the 4 people back in front of him with one palm and punched them again. Yang Xiaoshan pulled the 4 people back again and blasted them away again. Over and over again. The whole restaurant was silent. The masters of the Elf clan, the Stone clan, and the Charm clan looked at Yang Xiaoshan in surprise. You should know that the person Yang Xiaoshan attacked was Hefang, the son of the elder of the Three-Eyed River clan. Hefang and the other 3 were beaten to a pulp by Yang Xiaoshan's punch after punch, and they were beaten to death and even vomited bile. After more than 10 punches, Yang Xiaoshan finally knocked the 4 people out of the restaurant with one punch. Yang Xiaoshan glanced at the masters of the Sky Demon clan, the Elf clan, and the Charm clan, and said coldly, "Was it funny just now?" He meant that the human race was lying on the ground drinking. Shanrenai, a direct disciple of the Sky Demon clan, saw that Yang Xiaoshan, a human race, dared to question him, and his face sank. "Boy, who do you think you are? Is it your turn to question me?" Then he sneered, "But it is funny that the human race is lying on the ground drinking like a dog." At this point, he laughed. At this time, the 2 emperor level elders beside him stood up and stared at Yang Xiaoshan with a covetous look. As long as Yang Xiaoshan dared to make a move, they would give Yang Xiaoshan a thunderous blow. Yang Xiaoshan flashed and came in front of Shanrenai. Seeing Yang Xiaoshan really take action, the 2 old men suddenly slapped Yang Xiaoshan with a palm. "Boy, you are really looking for death. This is Shianaiao City. It is not your turn to be presumptuous." However, just as the 2 men made their move, suddenly, they saw a huge black-haired palm appeared above their heads without knowing when, and pressed down with the force of Mount A. They only felt that their eyes were dark. There was a loud bang. The 2 were slapped directly into the ground. The one who made the move was the demon ape. The demon ape's palm had grown dozens of times larger at this time, and it held the 2 in its hand, and then kneaded it hard with 5 fingers like kneading dough. The 2 screamed, and the sound of bones breaking kept ringing. The bones of the 2 people were all crushed by the demon ape. Seeing this scene, the faces of the masters of the elves and the many people in the restaurant changed. The 2 old men beside Shanrenai were not ordinary emperors, but the peak of the 10th level of the emperor. They were held in his hands and kneaded like dough. The demon ape's eyes were cold, and he kneaded them again. The 2 screamed, their bodies burst, and blood spurted out. Shanrenai's face turned pale. At this time, Yang Xiaoshan punched out and blasted Shanrenai away. Just like he did to the 4 people of Hefang just now, Yang Xiaoshan took Shanrenai back and blasted him away again, took him back again, and blasted him away again. After blasting Shanrenai half to death, he blasted him out of the restaurant. Yang Xiaoshan's eyes fell on the elf masters, and he still said coldly, "You guys also thought it was funny just now, right?" The faces of several people were cloudy. One of them couldn't help but said angrily, "Boy, do you know who I am? I'm the young master of the He family of the elf. You are a lowly human. The He family is one of the most powerful families of the elves, and its strength is second only to the royal family of the elves. The lord of King City, He Bei, who was pinned to death by Yang Xiaoshan, was a disciple of the He family." As soon as the young master of the He family finished speaking, Yang Xiaoshan grabbed his neck and punched him again and again, causing the young master of the He family to scream miserably. Several other masters of the He clan tried to attack, but were also slapped away by the devil ancestor of destruction. Yang Xiaoshan blasted the half-dead young master of the He family out of the restaurant, glanced at the masters of the Mei clan and other clans, and said in a cold voice, "Does anyone else find this funny?" This time, no one dared to say anything. It was not until Yang Xiaoshan and the devil ape left, after eating and drinking, that the people in the restaurant were in an uproar. Who is this human boy? He dared to attack Shanrenai in Shianaiao City. Shanrenai is the son of the general of the Shianaiao clan. This time, it seems that the head of the He family has also come to Shianaiao City. Not only the head of the He family, but also the queen of the elf clan, Ziyuandang, has come to Shianaiao City. I heard that she came to discuss the matter of the demon ape bridge with the chief of the Shianaiao clan. In addition, the chief of the Three-Eyed River clan has also come. Also for the matter of the undead death energy of the demon ape rage. Everyone was talking about it. One night passed. Yang Xiaoshan and his friends walked towards the ring of Xianyao Princess Xianwan King. At this time, the sky was already bright. The ring was surrounded by masters of various tribes. Yang Xiaoshan saw Xianwan King on the ring. Xianwan King was more than 1.7 meters tall, with a beautiful face and bronze skin. She was delicate and wild. What Yang Xiaoshan didn't expect was that the eldest prince of the elf clan, Ziluo, was also there. Ziluo was on the ring and wanted to compete with Xianwan King. Yang Xiaoshan looked at the rostrum in the distance and saw the elf ancestor Sima on the rostrum. Sima was sitting next to the elf leader, the elf queen Ziyuandang. In addition to Ziyuandang, the leaders of the Sky Demon tribe and the Three-Eyed River tribe were also sitting there. Chapter 359, Crazy Bloodline. Just as Yang Xiaoshan was observing Shanhanji, Ziyuandang and others on the rostrum, a murderous voice sounded from behind Yang Xiaoshan in the crowd. "Boy, it's you." Yang Xiaoshan looked over and saw that it was Shan Renai, the son of the great general of the Heavenly Demon clan who was attacked by him yesterday. In addition to Shan Renai, there was also the young master of the He family who was attacked by him yesterday, and He Fang, the son of the great elder of the Three-Eyed River clan. All of these people who were attacked by him yesterday were still there. However, looking at the way they bent over, it was obvious that their stomachs were not healed yet. Seeing that they were staring at him with eyes that wanted to gnaw on his flesh and blood, Yang Xiaoshan's face was calm. "Are your stomachs healed?" Hearing Yang Xiaoshan talking about their stomachs, whether it was Shan Renai, the young master of the He clan, or He Fang, they were all furious, with bloodthirsty murderous intent in their eyes. "Boy, you are simply looking for death. You dare to come to the Heavenly Demon Arena. I must dig out all your internal organs today," Shan Renai said angrily. His father was the general of the Sky Demon clan, commanding a million-strong army of the Sky Demon clan. As the son of the general of the Sky Demon clan, he was actually bombarded by a human last night. This is simply the greatest shame of his life. "Kill this kid for me," Shan Renai roared and waved his hand. Suddenly, all the guards behind him rushed to Yang Xiaoshan. "Kill him." The young master of the Sea clan pointed at Yang Xiaoshan angrily, and all the masters of the Sea clan behind him rushed to Yang Xiaoshan. And He Fang also shouted angrily to the masters of the Three-Eyed River clan behind him, "Bomb this kid's belly for me." Suddenly, hundreds of masters of the Sky Demon clan, the Sea clan, and the Three-Eyed River clan all attacked Yang Xiaoshan and his men. The demon ape didn't even look at it. His palm covered with black hair became hundreds of times larger. With a casual wave, a violent black wave swept past. Wherever he passed, the army of the Sky Demon clan, the Sea clan, and the elite of the Three-Eyed River clan all flew out. Screams were heard everywhere. On the stage, the elf prince Ziluo was about to make a move to experience the power of Xianwan King's crazy bloodline, but suddenly heard a scream below the stage. He looked over in surprise and saw that the stage was already in chaos. Then, he saw the light blue figure that he would never forget. The figure was standing in the chaotic crowd below the stage, like a mountain, standing still, just like the figure stood still in the face of the millions of elves. "It's him." Ziluo's heart trembled when he saw this haunting figure, and his face changed wildly. Since the battle with the dwarf tribe, this figure has become his biggest demon. Xianwan King saw Ziluo's face change greatly, and felt strange in her heart. She couldn't help but look at the chaotic crowd along Ziluo's eyes, and her eyes also fell on the light blue figure. It was even more strange to see that the other party was a 13 or 14-year-old human boy. At this time, the chaos below the stage also attracted the attention of Shanhanji, Ziyuandang and others on the rostrum. Sima, who was sitting next to Ziyuandang, glanced casually at the bottom of the ring, but this casual glance also made him change color. He also saw Yang Xiaoshan and the Bingayan killing people around Yang Xiaoshan. "It's them," Sima exclaimed. "Who?" Ziyuandang saw Sima's expression and couldn't help but wonder. "It's the Son of Terror." Sima swallowed his words. "What? The Son of Terror?" All the ancestors and clan leaders on the rostrum were shocked and looked at Yang Xiaoshan. After the battle with the dwarf tribe, a 13 or 14-year-old human boy actually condensed a divine golden elixir and condensed 10 invincible sword hearts. He punched the 10th level of the martial emperor with the strength of the 2nd level of the martial emperor. How terrifying. Because these days, many people have called him the son of terror. Regarding the divine golden elixir, it has been rumored to be mysterious for millions of years, so when they heard that the son of terror had come, all the ancestors and clan leaders on the rostrum were furious. Even Xian Hongji, the chief of the Sky Demon clan, was shocked. He did not expect that his daughter's setting up of the ring would attract the son of terror. After Zi Yuandan was surprised, he stared at Yang Xiaoshan with murderous intent. Since this kid came to the Sky Demon clan, he would not be allowed to leave this time no matter what. Xian Yao City is where he will die. Oh, the son of terror. Xian Wanqing, who was on the ring, could not help but brighten her eyes when she heard that the young man who stepped down was the son of terror who had been rumored recently. She was warlike, very warlike, but unfortunately, no one of her peers in the 100 clan empire was her opponent. A few days ago, a son of terror appeared, which made her blood boil. She set up the ring this time, mainly to fight with the son of terror. Just as she was about to speak, suddenly, Yang Xiaoshan rose from the ground and landed on the ring. Seeing Yang Xiaoshan on the ring, Zluo, who was originally standing on the ring, was frightened and retreated to the edge of the ring. Yang Xiaoshan ignored Zluo and looked at Xian Wanqing. If I defeat you, I can choose a treasure from the Xian Yao clan's treasury, right? Including that piece of innate divine iron? He didn't hide it. He came here for that piece of innate divine iron. 10 billion low-grade spirit stones, 100 top-grade 3-element purple gold pills. To him, they were all rubbish. When Xian Wanqing heard that Yang Xiaoshan came for that piece of innate divine iron, he smiled and his voice was full of seductive wildness. Yes, as long as you defeat me, you can get that piece of innate divine iron. Xian Hongji on the rostrum frowned when he heard this, but didn't say anything, which was considered tacit consent. He looked at Yang Xiaoshan with a burning gaze. Today, he really wanted to see if the divine golden pill was as invincible as the legend said. At this time, Xian Wanqing said to Yang Xiaoshan, I heard that you are only the 2nd level of Wu Huang, and I'm the peak of the 10th level of Wu Huang. If I defeat you, it would be unfair. So, I will let you have one hand. Yang Xiaoshan heard this and shook his head and said, no need, just do it. Do it with all your strength. Xian Wanqing didn't waste any more words or politeness. Black airwaves came out of her body. At the same time, her eyes became completely blood red, red like fire and blood. This is the crazy bloodline, which is also the strongest bloodline in ancient times. After activating the crazy bloodline, a violent killing intent burst out from Xian Wanqing. She moved. She turned into a residual image and punched in front of Yang Xiaoshan. Everyone hadn't reacted yet, and even Zluo didn't see clearly how Xian Wanqing made a move. At the moment when Xian Wanqing was about to hit Yang Xiaoshan was covered with dragon scales all over his body, and dragon wings larger than the entire ring stretched out from his back. A dragon's might that surpassed the 9 heavens swept across the world. Yang Xiaoshan punched out at the same time. Bang! The two fists collided. Xian Wanqing and Yang Xiaoshan were shocked at the same time and took several steps back. Xian Hongji and the Xian Yao clan masters were surprised. Xian Wanqing opened the power of the crazy bloodline. They knew how strong the punch was. Yang Xiaoshan's punch just now was evenly matched. You know, Xian Wanqing is at the peak of the 10th level of the martial emperor. Chapter 360, 11 Sword Hearts vs. 4 times Mad Demon. Xian Wanqing was also shocked when she saw Yang Xiaoshan blocking her punch, because Yang Xiaoshan had just activated his true energy and had not yet used the divine golden elixir. Dragon clan art. She looked at Yang Xiaoshan, whose body was covered with dragon scales, in surprise. Now Yang Xiaoshan was a human-shaped real dragon. What kind of dragon clan art was this? And it was so powerful. She had just been hit by a punch, and her arm was still numb. Double crazy. Xian Wanqing shouted in a delicate voice, and the black airwaves all over her body rolled and burned. The blood red light in her eyes became stronger and stronger. She flashed and punched out. Everyone saw that Xian Wanqing's speed and strength were doubled compared to before. This is a horror of the crazy blood, which can burn blood power and increase the attacker's combat power. Now Shinwan King's combat power has doubled. How amazing it is to double the combat power. Seeing Shinwan King's crazy blood power burning, and her combat power doubled, everyone stared at Yang Ocean closely. Should the Son of Terror use the power of the Divine Great Golden Pill this time? Without the power of the Divine Great Golden Pill, he will definitely not be able to resist the double madness. In the crowd, everyone was not blinking, for fear of missing any wonderful moment. Lion Chien Hongji was also tense. Everyone held their breath. At this moment, Yang Ocean still punched out. Under everyone's gaze, suddenly, the 9-color sword energy in Yang Ocean's body burst out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Soon, 10 9-color sword hearts awakened. 10 9-color sword hearts. Seeing the power of Yang Ocean's 10 9-color sword hearts awakened instantly, everyone was shocked. Even Sima, who had seen the power of Yang Ocean's 10 9-color sword hearts, was still shocked. 10 sword hearts. How amazing. How unparalleled. But just when everyone was shocked, suddenly, the 11th 9-color sword energy burst out from Yang Ocean's body. The 11th. Sima screamed in horror, and jumped up from his seat. What? 11? Chien Hongji, Ziyuandong and others also jumped up from their seats, their faces full of horror. Chien Renai, Hefang, the young master of the Sea Clan, everyone at the scene was shocked. 11. It turned out to be 11 invincible sword hearts. In this world, aren't there at most 10 sword hearts? In the minds of many people, they thought that there were at most 10 sword hearts in this world. They have never heard that there are 11 sword hearts in this world. 11 invincible sword hearts are born. This is simply. Many ancestors were so excited that they were incoherent. It was the first time for everyone at the scene to see 11 sword hearts, including Chien Hongji and Ziyuandong, because there have been no 11 sword hearts for a million years. Son of Terror. This is the Son of Terror. Shinwan King was also scared. In Shinwan King's shocked eyes, Yang Ocean's fist burst out with the power of the 9-colored sword heart. The 9-colored sword key seemed infinite and endless. With a crushing momentum, it destroyed Shinwan King's double crazy fist power. Bang! Shinwan King felt a sharp pain in her arm, and a force so strong that she could not resist pushed her back. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Even if she frantically urged the power of the crazy bloodline, she could not stop, and finally retreated to the edge of the ring. Wherever she stepped on, the ring was actually cracked, leaving a long row of footprints. Everyone was shocked. How much power must it take for Shinwan King to crack the ground of the ring? But even so, the power of the Son of Terror still pushed Shinwan King to the edge of the ring. Shinwan King looked at Yang Ocean, whose 11 sword hearts burst out, with shock in her eyes. What kind of monster is this? He actually cultivated 11 invincible sword hearts. She couldn't cultivate even one of them. Although her martial arts talent is very strong, her swordsmanship is not good. She is obsessed with boxing. 11 invincible sword hearts. After Shinwan King was shocked, her fighting spirit burned even more fiercely, and the crazy blood in her body burned even more crazily. Her robe moved without wind, and her whole body floated up, and an even more amazing blood power surged from her body. 4 times crazy. Shinwan King's voice resounded over the sky of Shinaiao City, and then, the whole person suddenly blasted towards Yang Ocean like a falling black meteor. 4 times crazy. This is the strongest crazy power that Shinwan King can burn now. It is also the strongest power she can exert now. When she punched down from high in the sky, the power was so strong that the airwaves in the space exploded. The entire ring couldn't bear her power and began to crack inch by inch. Even the surrounding ground began to crack. The strong men around the ring were shocked and retreated. At the same time, at the moment when Shinwan King punched, everyone felt an invisible force. This invisible force, added to the 4 times crazy power, made Shinwan King's punch even more terrifying. This is the true meaning of martial arts. The heavenly demon princess actually comprehended the power of the true meaning of martial arts. Many ancestors exclaimed. The realm of martial arts is divided into entry, minor success, major success, perfection, and peak. Now, Yang Zai Ocean has cultivated many supreme magical powers to the peak, and then condensed a divine golden elixir. But above the peak is the true meaning of martial arts. If you practice boxing, then it is the meaning of boxing. If you practice swordsmanship, then it is the meaning of swordsmanship. Generally speaking, it is rare to comprehend the true meaning of martial arts in the martial emperor realm, and it is absolutely a monster to comprehend the true meaning of martial arts in the martial honor realm. But now, the heavenly demon princess SYNOPSIS is only at the peak of the emperor realm, and she has already comprehended the true meaning of martial arts. This is absolutely terrifying. Once a magical power is cultivated to the true meaning of martial arts, the horror of the attack is definitely not comparable to the peak. The true meaning of martial arts? Yang Zai Ocean looked at SYNOPSIS, who fell from the sky with a bang, his face calm. At the moment when SYNOPSIS' fist was about to hit Yang Zai Ocean, golden light burst out from Yang Zai Ocean's body, and the extremely strong golden light illuminated the space around the ring. A golden elixir like a small golden sun flew out. When the golden elixir flew out, the earth shook. A power that seemed to come from heaven and from ancient times descended on the world. All the strong men in every corner of SYNOPSIS city felt this power that seemed to come from heaven and ancient times. Under the cover of this power, everyone had difficulty breathing. God Great Golden Elixir. SYNOPSIS looked at the rising God Great Golden Elixir and lost her mind. At the moment she lost her mind, Yang Zai Ocean punched. The Invincible clone was used, and several Yang Zai Ocean punched at the same time. The power of the God Great Golden Elixir and the power of the 11 sword hearts roared wildly, and the violent black cold air rose to the sky. This black cold air was so dark that it was terrifying and palpitating, as if it could freeze all the power in the world. This is the black cold ice power of the Supreme King Xuanwu martial soul. Bang! Yang Zai Ocean's fist force collided with the opponent's fist force. Chapter 361. Xuandang is like a stray dog. SYNOPSIS felt a force more terrifying than before. Her whole body shook violently. 4 times the crazy power was blown up. Even with the blessing of the true meaning of martial arts, it was blown up. Then, like a rocket, she was blasted into the sky. SYNOPSIS' figure became smaller and smaller. When she was shot high enough, SYNOPSIS fell from the sky. There was a loud bang. A building in SYNOPSIS city was blown through and broken into pieces. The ground shook. A human-shaped deep pit appeared. Everyone was shocked. SYNOPSIS, who had 4 times the crazy power and even used the true meaning of martial arts, was still defeated. She was completely blown away. Everyone looked at Yang Zai Ocean on the ring, who was covered by the 9-color sword light, and looked at the golden elixir that was like a golden sun, and was shocked. Whether it was a divine golden elixir or 11 sword hearts, they were the only ones in the world and the only ones in Kangshan continent. SYNOPSIS took a deep breath, and a green light flashed in his eyes. This was the ancient eye of the sea, which was said to be able to see through the essence of everything. However, just when he used the eye of the sea to see through the secrets in Yang Zai Ocean's body, suddenly, 2 terrifying forces that made his soul cold shook his eye of the sea back. SYNOPSIS' face changed drastically. What kind of power was that in the boy's body? Even his eye of the sea could not detect it. And those 2 powers seemed to come from ancient times. How could there be power from ancient times in his body? Yang Zai Ocean stood on the ring and looked at SYNOPSIS. Are you the patriarch of the SYNOPSIS tribe? Since I have defeated the SYNOPSIS princess, please take me to the SYNOPSIS treasury to choose the innate divine un. Before SYNOPSIS could speak, the elf queen Xuandang sneered. Choose the innate divine un? Boy, you should think about whether you can leave here alive first. At this point, she walked towards Yang Zai Ocean with full momentum, and 2 large wings spread out behind her. These were the wings of the elves. The stronger the elf bloodline, the more colorful the elf wings. Xuandang's elf wings are golden, and there are other colors in the golden color. When Xuandang walked towards Yang Zai Ocean, Sima, the head of the He family and other elf warriors also walked towards Yang Zai Ocean. All the elf warriors at the scene rushed up and surrounded Yang Zai Ocean and his companions. Seeing this, the others were so scared that they quickly retreated. Xuandang walked out from the rostrum, suspended in the air, looking at Yang Zai Ocean coldly. Boy, if it weren't for you, my elves wouldn't have lost so many troops. Even if you die 100 times, it's not too much. Yang Xiaoshen's face was normal. Do you really think you can kill me? Ziyuandong laughed tenderly. I know you have 2 beast gods in the divine realm by your side, but they are only the first level of the divine realm. If I kill you, how can the beast gods of the first level of the divine realm stop me? At this point, Ziyuandong summoned the elf sword in her hand and suddenly stabbed Yang Xiaoshen with a sword. Under the infusion of her divine power, the sword of the elf sword shot violently. The elf queen was surprisingly a divine realm of the 3rd level. And she was not just entering the 3rd level of the divine realm, but the peak of the early 3rd level of the divine realm. It was because of this that she was sure to kill Yang Xiaoshen. This time, no matter what, she couldn't let Yang Xiaoshen escape from Xianyao City. She knew that with Yang Xiaoshen's terrifying talent, once he escaped from Xianyao City, his future growth would definitely be the nightmare of the elves. Just as Ziyuandong made his move, Sima, the head of the He family, and 4 other masters of the divine realm also made their moves. In addition to Ziyuandong, the elves also came with 4 masters of the divine realm, and the others were disciples of the saint realm, the emperor realm, and Ziyuo, the royal family disciples of the emperor realm. Ziyuandong's 5 great divine realms and hundreds of saint realms made their moves at the same time, and the power of destroying the world made everyone's face change drastically. A group of ancestors pulled their disciples to avoid it in a hurry. Seeing that Ziyuandong's sword energy was about to blast Yang Xiaoshen into powder, at this moment, suddenly, a roaring beast roar resounded through the world. The beast roar sounded. Countless strong men were knocked away and fainted. In the roar of the beast, the black demonic energy of the demon ape beside Yang Xiaoshen surged, and suddenly it surged, turning into a black giant ape that supported the sky and the earth. The world darkened. The demon ape suddenly slapped down with a palm. Ziyuandong felt the terrifying power of the ape's palm that was crashing down like a mountain. His face changed drastically. He fled backwards frantically while slashing the elf sword in his hand into the sky. Sima, the head of the He family, and all the masters of the elves retreated in fear and attacked the sky at the same time. But it was useless. Ziyuandong and others attacked the huge ape's palm, but it was like hitting an indestructible divine iron. The ape's palm was not affected at all. Boom. The ape's palm slammed to the ground. Xianyao City was like being hit by a destructive blow and suddenly pulled back. Ziyuandong, Sima, and the head of the He family were all blown away by the aftermath of the palm power. The other elves who could not avoid it were blown up like tomatoes. Hundreds of blood plasma sprayed, and the surrounding ground was dyed red. Everyone looked and saw that the entire ring had disappeared. With the ring as the center, the surrounding area within 1,000 meters became a huge pit of ape's palm. The masters of all races were so scared that their faces turned pale. Ziyuandong's throat felt hot, and blood spurted out. She looked at the demon ape that was supporting the sky and the earth in horror, and looked at the horrible wound on the demon ape's chest, and cried out, "Tonks Demon Ape. Are you the one from Demon Ape Ridge? The one from Demon Ape Ridge?" Everyone changed color when they heard it. It was well known that there was a fierce demon ape suppressed in Demon Ape Ridge, and everyone knew that even the Dragon Sword God could not kill this demon ape. Who is the Dragon Sword God? He is the best master in the 100 Races Empire in 10,000 years. Even the Dragon Sword God could not kill him, so you can imagine how terrifying this demon ape is. Now this demon ape has actually come out, and it has become the mount of the Son of Terror. Go. Ziyuandong screamed in shock as soon as she recognized the Tonks in Demon Ape and dared not fight. Want to leave? The Tonks in Demon Ape's violent killing intent was overwhelming, and 2 10,000-foot iron chains appeared in his hands. He pulled them out suddenly, and the 2 10,000-foot iron chains instantly caught up with Ziyuandong and Sima. Ziyuandong roared in shock and anger, and the elf sword in his hand slashed wildly. Under the urging of his sword, the elf sword violently shot out millions of sword ki, all of which slashed on the iron chain. The cold light shot out continuously, but it was useless. Not only was the iron chain fine, but the attack continued. Looking at the 10,000-foot iron chain coming straight at her, Ziyuandong was terrified and fled in a panic. Bang! She was still half a step slower and was hit by the tail of the iron chain. Suddenly, Ziyuandang was smashed out like a meteor, blasting through one building after another in Xianyao City. And Sima, the head of the He family and others were also swept by another iron chain and shot out. Countless buildings in Xianyao City were blasted through and collapsed. Suddenly, in the ruins, a figure broke through the air and flew madly to the outside of Xianyao City. It was the injured Ziyuandang. Chapter 362 Soul Ring Evolution. Others who were hit by the iron chain but not dead, such as Sima and the head of the He family, also broke through the ruins and fled madly, like dogs that had lost their homes. They were terrified to learn that the demon ape in front of them was the one from Demon Ape Ridge. The head of the He family even fled madly with his naked body, regardless of the armor on his body that had been blown up. Everyone was stunned. They had seen powerful gods, but today was the first time they saw a powerful god running away naked. Seeing Ziyuandang, Sima and others were about to escape, the Tonks and Demon Ape roared again and swung out the 10,000 feet iron chain in his hand. The two 10,000 feet iron chains flew out like meteors. Ziyuandang heard the whistling sound behind her, turned her head, and saw the iron chains flying like meteors, which scared her to death. The light of life. Ziyuandang roared, and green light came out of her body one after another, which formed layer after layer of life defense shields. At the same time, the elf sword in her hand slashed out again. This time, she even used the forbidden techniques of the elves. Her whole body was filled with blood like aura. The elf sword in her hand was like a green sun, bursting out super sword energy. Sword energy madly bombarded the chains. But it was still useless. The chains were unstoppable and blasted through the sword energy one by one, hitting the life defense shield. Puff. Ziyuandang was blown away again. He smashed out of Xianyao City. He blasted through the mountain outside Xianyao City. And Sima, the head of the He family and dozens of others were also blown away by the chains again. Those saintly ancestors were directly blown up and turned into blood mist. Ziyuandang, Sima, the head of the He family vomited blood and fled again. Tonks and Demon Ape frowned, and when he was about to chase, Yang Xiaoshan shook his head. Forget it, no need to chase. If Ziyuandang and the other 5 fled separately, Tonks and Demon Ape would find it difficult to catch up, and Tonks and Demon Ape had not recovered from the injury he was injured by Xianlang Sword God. Yang Xiaoshan looked at the far corner and saw the elf prince Zillow trembling in the far corner, looking at Yang Xiaoshan in horror. The devil ancestor of destruction took Zillow in front of Yang Xiaoshan with one hand. Zillow looked at Yang Xiaoshan and Tonks and Demon Ape in front of him and was so scared that he collapsed and cried, "Don't kill me." The burial sky sword appeared in Yang Xiaoshan's hand. "You should say this to your grandmother." After saying that, the burial sky sword in his hand swung out and cut directly through Zillow's neck. Zillow's head rolled down. When he died, his eyes were wide open. It is estimated that he would never believe until his death that this trip to Xianyao City would be his death trip. Before coming, he still fantasized about having a chance to defeat Xianwan King, get the innate divine iron of the Xianyao clan, and then repair the elf clan sword of life. But now, Xianyao City has become his burial place. Seeing the head of the elf prince Zillow being chopped off by Yang Xiaoshan, everyone shuddered in their hearts. Zillow, who was known as the disciple with the strongest martial arts talent in the elves in 10,000 years, and who even comprehended the peerless weapon-making genius who could refine weapons without a cauldron, now died in front of them. Xian Renai of the Sky Demon clan and He Fang of the Three-Eyed River clan were both scared to death. They curled up in a secret corner, not daring to make a sound, and even farted. Yang Xiaoshan withdrew his gaze from the Zillow people and looked at Xian Hongji, the chief of the Sky Demon clan. "Please take me to the Sky Demon treasure house to select the innate divine iron." Originally, when Yang Xiaoshan defeated Xianwan King just now, Xian Hongji wanted to find an excuse that the innate divine iron was not in the Sky Demon treasure house. Now he dared not say a word and said in a panic, "Young master, please follow me." Then he respectfully led Yang Xiaoshan and others to the Sky Demon clan treasure house, opened the door of the treasury, and let Yang Xiaoshan go in to select. Following Yang Xiaoshan into the Heavenly Demon treasure house, Xian Hongji was very nervous, but when he saw Yang Xiaoshan only picked out the piece of innate divine iron and came out, Xian Hongji breathed a sigh of relief. The piece of innate divine iron was about the same size as the one of the dwarves. Yang Xiaoshan got the innate divine iron and did not stay, but left the heavenly demon city. When leaving, Xian Hongji gave the other 1 billion low-grade spirit stones and 100 top-grade 3-element purple gold pills to Yang Xiaoshan. Yang Xiaoshan threw all the 1 billion low-grade spirit stones to the devil ancestor of destruction, saying that they would be used for drinking in the future. Seeing Yang Xiaoshan throwing 1 billion low-grade spirit stones to his men and saying that they would be used for drinking in the future, Xian Hongji was stunned for a long time. With the farewell of Xian Hongji and a group of heavenly demon masters, Yang Xiaoshan and his companions left the heavenly demon city. The battle in the heavenly demon city spread quickly. Thousands of masters of the elves were almost killed or wounded. Even the great prince of the elves, Zhuo, was beheaded. Only 5 gods, Zhuangdong and Zimo, escaped. All the tribes in the 100 Races Empire were shocked. Night fell. On a barren mountain, Yang Xiaoshan took out the Kangshan sword, controlled the 2 divine fires, and melted the piece of innate divine iron obtained today into the Kangshan sword. The cracks on the Kangshan sword were repaired again. Looking at the last crack on the Kangshan sword, Yang Xiaoshan looked in the direction of the eternal burial ground. Now, the innate divine iron in the eternal tomb is missing to completely repair the Kangshan sword. Just wait for the eternal tomb to open. Yang Xiaoshan sat cross-legged to practice. The 2 supreme king martial spirits were suspended in the sky. The soul rings of the Lord of the Abyss and the soul rings of the deep sea demon Kun were surging, and the ancient divine power enveloped the world. Under the divine power of the 2 ancient soul beasts, Tonks and Demon Ape and several others were panicked. Practice overnight. Yang Xiaoshan suddenly asked Tonks and Demon Ape and Bingai and Killin if there was any way to make the spirit ring evolve and break through. After all, his Abyss Lord spirit ring was nearly 2 million years old. If it evolved to 2 million years, it would definitely be more powerful. He remembered that Wei Zhongyuan's spirit ring evolved from 99,000 years to 100,000 years. It is very difficult to make the spirit ring evolve and break through. Tonks and Demon Ape shook his head and said, in a sense, the spirit ring is a part of the warrior's body. When a warrior practices and breaks through a realm, the body will be strengthened, the flesh, the internal organs and even the soul will be strengthened. The spirit ring will also be strengthened. But, it is just strengthened. The chance of the spirit ring evolving and breaking through is very small, so small that it is almost impossible. Yang Xiaoshan said, I met an opponent before, and his spirit ring evolved from 99,000 years to 100,000 years. Tonks and Demon Ape nodded. There is indeed a secret method in ancient times that can make the spirit ring evolve, but this secret method is too dangerous. It can be said that you have to rely on external forces to break the spirit ring and then repair it again. Yang Xiaoshan gave up the idea immediately after hearing this. His 2 spirit rings are both million-year spirit rings. Even if he wants to break them with external forces, no one can break his 2 spirit rings. However, under normal circumstances, when breaking through the realm of gods, there is hope for the spirit ring to evolve and break through. Tonks and Demon Ape said. Chapter 363 3 tribes join forces? Break through the realm of gods? Yang Xiaoshan smiled bitterly. He is only at the martial emperor level now. Tonks and Demon Ape also knew that it would take too long for Yang Xiaoshan to break through the realm of gods. He laughed dryly and said, in fact, with your terrifying talent, it is possible for your soul ring to evolve when you break through the Saint Realm. Break through the Saint Realm. Yang Xiaoshan's heart was shocked. Yes, but before you break through the Saint Realm, you must condense 14 of the strongest destinies. Tonks and Demon Ape said earnestly, moreover, whether you are at the Martial Emperor realm or the Martial Honor realm, you need to lay the most solid and heaven-defying foundation before you can hope to evolve your soul ring. Martial Emperor realm, Martial Honor realm, both need to lay the most solid and heaven-defying foundation. Martial Emperor realm mainly cultivates ki and blood. The stronger the ki and blood of a warrior's physical body, the stronger the vitality and the longer the lifespan. And the Martial Honor realm, it is to cultivate the orifices. The warrior's body has a total of 1,296 acupoints. It is said that, if all the acupoints in the body can be opened, the body can even become holy and achieve immortality. In the Martial Emperor realm, some talented warriors can cultivate their blood and ki to the point of being released. Tonks and Demon Ape said, but the degree of release is only ordinary. If the blood and ki can turn into wolf smoke, it is amazing. The blood and ki are like a rainbow, which is rare in 100 years. But this is not strong. If the blood and ki can turn into a sea of blood hundreds of miles long, it is rare in 10,000 years. Tonks and Demon Ape said this. Yang Zai Ocean urged his blood and ki. Suddenly, the surging blood and ki rushed up from Yang Zai Ocean's body and condensed into a huge pillar of heaven, straight into the sky. Tonks and Demon Ape looked at Yang Zai Ocean's blood and ki like a pillar of heaven and was stunned. Bingai and Killin and the other two were also stunned. They didn't expect that Yang Zai Ocean was only in the 3rd level of Martial Emperor realm, and his blood and ki was so strong. Old Ape, what do you think of my blood and ki? Yang Zai Ocean asked Tonks and Demon Ape. Tonks and Demon Ape swallowed for a long time before saying, terrible. It's not thick, it's not against the sky, but terrifying. The blood and ki are so terrifying, it can be seen how terrifying Yang Zai Ocean's body is. He couldn't figure out how his son cultivated such a terrifying body. The dragon art is the most advanced technique of the ancient dragon clan. Yang Zai Ocean has been practicing hard for many years, and he insists on swallowing the heavenly tribulation thunder water to practice every day. It is no exaggeration to say that Yang Zai Ocean's body is stronger than the ancient dragon clan strongmen of the same realm. However, it is said that when the Lord of Kangshan broke through the realm of martial honor, his blood and ki could condense into a sea of blood of 10,000 miles. Tonks and Demon Ape said. Yang Zai Ocean was surprised. 10,000 miles in radius? Although his blood and ki are terrifying now, it is impossible to condense into a sea of blood of 10,000 miles in radius. Yes, it is 10,000 miles in radius. Tonks and Demon Ape said with admiration. On the Kangshan continent, since ancient times, only the Lord of Kangshan has reached such a realm. 10,000 miles in radius? Yang Zai Ocean tried to condense his blood and ki into a sea. Suddenly, his blood and ki surged and spread all over the sky, forming a sea of blood with a radius of 1,000 miles around his body. Tonks and Demon Ape, Bingai and Killin and others were shocked. You know, since the beginning of time, in the Martial Emperor realm, the number of people whose blood and ki can reach a radius of 1,000 miles can be counted on both hands. Yang Zai Ocean frowned. With his current cultivation speed, even if he cultivates to the peak of the 10th level of Martial Emperor, it is probably difficult for his blood and ki to reach a radius of 10,000 miles. Even if he swallows the 6-fold heavenly tribulation thunder water every day to cultivate, it is impossible. I don't know how the Lord of Kangshan cultivated in the past, and he was able to cultivate to a radius of 10,000 miles. In addition to the heavenly tribulation thunder water, is there anything else that can temper the body and improve blood and ki? Yang Zai Ocean asked them. Tonks and Demon Ape thought for a while and said, the elves do have something that can temper the body and improve blood and ki. Elves. Old Ape, are you referring to the Tree of Life? Yang Zai Ocean blurted out. That's right. Tonks and Demon Ape said, the life energy of the life tree can temper the body, improve blood and vitality. If the young master can swallow the heavenly tribulation thunder water to practice under the life tree, the effect will be doubled. However, not everyone can cultivate blood to a radius of 10,000 miles with the help of treasures such as the life tree and the heavenly tribulation thunder water. The Lord of Kangshan was born with the Thunder Prison divine body, and it was because of this that he was able to cultivate blood to a radius of 10,000 miles in the Martial Emperor realm. The Thunder Prison divine body is one of the top divine bodies in the world. Yang Zai Ocean nodded. The Thunder Prison divine body? He practiced the beginning dragon art and possessed the body of the Dragon King, which was only stronger than the top divine bodies in the world. Old Ape, if we go to the Elf King city now, are you sure? Yang Zai Ocean asked. Tonks and Demon Ape pondered and said, the elves are protected by the elves' great formation. It's not easy to destroy them. However, if my injuries are healed, it's no problem at all. Yang Zai Ocean was relieved when he heard this. With the current recovery speed of Tonks and Demon Ape, if he swallowed a mouthful of 6 heavenly tribulation thunder water and a heavenly grade life extending pill every day, he would be completely healed in half a month. Let's go to the Elves Royal City now. Yang Zai Ocean stood up and said. The Elves Royal City was not close to this place. By the time they arrived at the Elves Royal City, Tonks and Demon Ape's injuries had almost healed. So Yang Xiaoshan and his companions set off for the elves' royal city. Just as Yang Xiaoshan and his companions were heading to the elves' royal city, the elf queen Ziyuandong and her 5 companions finally escaped back to the elves' territory. After returning to the elves' territory, Ziyuandong thought of the shameful scene of the Shinao clan, the tragic death of his grandson Ziluo and a group of elves masters, and was furious and full of hatred. Back then, the heart-connecting demon ape killed the ancient ancestor of the Mei clan. The Mei clan hates the heart-connecting demon ape to the bone. Contact the Mei clan leader for me. I want to unite with the Mei clan to surround and kill the heart-connecting demon ape. Ziyuandong gritted his teeth. Also contact the giant clan leader. The old giant clan leader was also seriously injured and died by the heart-connecting demon ape. The giant clan must be eager to gnaw on the flesh and blood of the heart-connecting demon ape. At this point, Ziyuandong said with murderous intent, I don't believe that our elves, the Mei clan, and the giant clan, the 3 tribes, can't kill that demon ape together. Sima and the head of the He family responded respectfully, and then followed Ziyuandong's instructions to contact the Mei clan leader and the giant clan leader. The sky gradually brightened. When Yang Xiaoshan and his companions were rushing to the elf clan king city, they heard a bad news. The undead dead spirits had rushed out of the demon ape rage and began to attack the cities around the Red Fire ancient country. Hearing the news, Yang Xiaoshan felt heavy. Once any living being is bitten by an undead spirit, it will be invaded by the undead spirit and will also become an undead spirit. These undead spirits like to eat raw meat, have no reason, and are difficult to kill. Wherever they go, there is death. What he was worried about still happened. Let's go to the Red Fire ancient country first. Yang Xiaoshan thought for a while and said, anyway, this place is not far from the Red Fire ancient country, and they are not in a hurry to rush to the Elf King City. Chapter 364 Elf King City. So, Yang Xiaoshan and his companions flew quickly to the ancient country of Chihou. One day later, they arrived at the border of the ancient country of Chihou. When they entered the border city of Chihou, they saw only ruins, blood, and body parts everywhere. The entire border city was empty. The space was still filled with a strong aura of death. This city has completely become a dead city. The voice of the devil ancestor of destruction was heavy. The demon ape, the ice flame unicorn, and the sky blue thunder python were all in a heavy mood. The dead city means that everyone in this city has been killed by the undead spirits and then all turned into undead spirits. These undead spirits continue to spread to the surrounding cities, which is extremely serious. Let's go. Yang Xiaoshan flew forward. After flying for a while, he saw a dead spirit. Yang Xiaoshan punched out, and the fist force turned into a dragon, blasting the dead spirit away. But the dead spirit was only blown away, and after a while, it stood up again. These undead spirits are hard to kill. After being invaded by the undead spirit, their bodies are tempered by the undead spirit, making them indestructible and difficult to smash. The demon ape said, to kill it, you can only chop off its head. But, ordinary weapons can't chop off its head at all. Yang Xiaoshan can now smash a mountain with one punch, but he can't smash a dead spirit. It can be seen that the bones of these undead spirits are hard, so ordinary weapons can't chop off their heads at all. Not to mention the innate spiritual weapons, I'm afraid that many treasures and even emperor weapons can't break its defense. Yang Xiaoshan took out the burial sky sword and chopped off the head of the undead in front of him with one sword. Looking at the head of the undead rolling in front of him, Yang Xiaoshan's mood became heavier. If he didn't have the burial sky sword and other heavenly swords, it would be difficult to kill these undead spirits, let alone those ordinary martial emperors. Yang Xiaoshan continued to fly forward. Every time he encountered an undead spirit, Yang Xiaoshan would directly chop off its head with one sword. As he moved forward, there were more and more undead spirits. The devil ancestor of destruction attacked and blasted the undead spirits. When Yang Xiaoshan arrived at another city, he saw that the whole city was full of undead spirits. There was no end in sight. These undead spirits exuded the stench of death all over their bodies, and the death energy soared into the sky, forming a terrifying cloud of undead spirits in the sky. Millions of undead spirits wailed from their mouths, which could be heard for miles, making people feel cold all over. Kill. Looking at the undead spirits that seemed to be endless in front of him, Yang Xiaoshan shouted loudly, and the power of 11 sword hearts was urged, and the sword energy swept across. In an instant, one piece after another of the undead spirits were blown away. The demon ape slapped out with one palm, and the palm print like a mountain fell. The ice flame Kirin, the sky blue thunder python, the devil ancestor of destruction and others attacked at the same time. Suddenly, there was a loud noise that shook the sky. Under the power of the four people to destroy the world, the whole city was blown into pieces. The destructive power of the four people continued to sweep. The earth was shaking for countless miles. The dust was rolling. It was like a terrifying sandstorm that lasted for a long time. Yang Xiaoshan was shocked to see the destructive power of the four demon apes. This was the power that a peerless strong man should have. When would he be able to possess such peerless power? Seeing Yang Xiaoshan's expression, the demon ape said, "Young master, don't envy us. With your talent, you may be able to break through the realm of the gods in a few decades." Decades? Yang Xiaoshan took a deep breath. Decades were still too long. He had to find a way to continuously improve his cultivation speed. However, although we can kill these undead spirits, we can't destroy these dead air. Bingai and kill inside. Yang Xiaoshan looked over and saw that the cloud of dead air covering the sky above the dead city did not dissipate. Even the destructive power of the four demon apes just now could not destroy these immortal dead air. These undead spirits are weak, so we can kill them so easily. If they were undead spirits in the realm of gods, we would not be able to kill them. The demon ape said solemnly. If a strong person in the god realm is invaded by the undead key, he will become a god realm undead. The god realm undead is absolutely terrifying. Under the same realm, it is impossible to kill him. If a god realm undead appears, it will be troublesome. The sky blue thunder python also looked solemn. By now, the Kangshen mansion should have known the news of the undead key's appearance. I don't know when the Kangshen mansion army will arrive at the 100 Races Empire. The devil ancestor of destruction said. The 100 Races Empire is on the edge of the Kangshen continent. The Kangshen mansion is too far away from the 100 Races Empire. Even if the Kangshen mansion army arrives by spaceship, it will take more than 1 or 2 days. This time, Lord Kangxiang will take action, right? Bingai Kilin said, with excitement in his eyes. When the undead key appears, Lord Kangxiang will definitely take action. When Lord Kangxiang descends on the demon ape ridge, it will be a world-destroying war. The demon ape was also excited. Lord Kangxiang's action is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If they can see Lord Kangxiang take action, it will definitely be exciting for the demon ape and others. Afterwards, Yang Xiaoshan and his men flew to the next city. The next city was still filled with undead spirits. The four demon apes attacked again and blasted the entire city into dust. After destroying more than a dozen cities in a row, they finally arrived at the 15th city. Outside the 15th city, there were undead spirits everywhere. The undead spirits surrounded the city like a tide. The city gates were closed, and on the city walls, the human defenders were terrified. Seeing that the city was finally not breached, Yang Xiaoshan felt relieved. The devil ancestor of destruction directly slapped the undead spirits outside the city with one palm. Yang Xiaoshan almost fell to the top of the city wall. There were only a few dozen defenders on the city wall, and they were all remnants of veterans. Seeing this, Yang Xiaoshan frowned and grabbed the captain of the garrison to ask him. Only then did he know that the city lord had already fled with most of the troops in the city, leaving only some remnants of veterans to defend the city. Because of the siege of the dead spirits, there are still hundreds of thousands of civilians in the city who cannot escape. Knowing that the city lord ignored the lives of hundreds of thousands of civilians in the city and fled with most of his troops, Yang Xiaoshan was furious. In fact, not only our city lord, but also the king of our ancient Red Fire Kingdom has already fled with his wife, daughter and army to the Human King city. The captain of the garrison cried. The Human King is the emperor of the human race in the 100 Races Empire. Didn't the Human King send troops to the ancient Red Fire Kingdom to suppress the dead spirits? Yang Xiaoshan asked in a deep voice. No. The captain of the garrison shook his head and said sadly, how can the Human King care about our life or death? He doesn't care about our life or death at all. I heard that the elf queen was seriously injured by a human strongman a few days ago. In anger, she slapped the human king half to death. Yang Xiaoshen's face sank. It's the elf queen Ziyuandong again. Go to the elf king city. Yang Xiaoshen's eyes were blazing, and he immediately broke through the air and flew to the elf king city at a high speed with the demon ape. Just as Yang Xiaoshen was flying towards the elf king city, suddenly, a 1,000-foot high bone mountain flew out from the depths of demon ape ridge. The young man who practiced the immortal god cannon drove the 1,000-foot high bone mountain away from demon ape ridge and flew rapidly towards the elf king city. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365 The War Begins. Yang Xiaoshen didn't know that the young man from the undead god cannon also drove the 10,000 feet bone mountain to fly to the elf king city. On the way, in order to speed up the recovery of the demon ape's injuries, he gave the demon ape 2 drops of 9 heaven tribulation thunder water. 9 heaven tribulation thunder water is indeed a healing treasure. Under the effect of 2 drops of 9 heaven tribulation thunder water, the demon ape's wounds continued to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Under his full drive, the Abyss spaceship turned into a ray of extremely fast light, constantly breaking through the clouds and waves, and constantly approaching the Elf King City. A few days later, the Elf King City is in sight. At this time, in the palace of the Elf King City, Ziyuandong's face was gloomy. Originally, she meant to unite the Mei clan and the Giant clan to encircle and kill the Tonks and Demon Ape together, but the Mei clan chief and the Giant clan chief both refused. Contact the leader of the Mei clan again. Ziyuandong was still unwilling, and said to Sima, tell him that, if they are willing to help, I will give them 100 drops of life spirit liquid each. The life tree can only condense 1 drop of life spirit liquid every year. 100 drops. That is the inventory of the elves for 100 years. Sima responded respectfully. Suddenly, Ziyuandong felt a sharp pain in her chest and blood flowed from the corners of her mouth. Previously, she was hit twice by the 10,000 feet iron chain of the Tonks in Demon Ape. Although she swallowed the life spirit liquid, her injuries did not heal at all. Seeing this, Sima was about to speak, but suddenly, a loud bang was heard. The entire Elf King City shook violently. All the elf masters in the hall were shocked. Ziyuandong and others flew out of the hall one after another, and saw a giant ape with black hair all over his body that supported the sky and the earth. Tonks and Demon Ape, Ziyuandong and others all changed color. Quickly, use all your strength to activate the elf formation. Ziyuandong roared. Your Majesty, rest assured. The elf array is the most powerful array in the 100 Races Empire. The heart-to-heart demon ape can't break it, said an old elf. As soon as he finished speaking, the heart-to-heart demon ape pulled down with a 10,000-foot iron chain in his hand. A loud bang sounded again. The light shield of the elf array was shaking violently. The light shield that was originally shining became dim. The faces of all the elf masters changed drastically. At this moment, the heart-to-heart demon ape pulled out the 10,000-foot black crystal cold iron chain again. Black crystal cold iron is indestructible and weighs hundreds of millions of tons. With one pull, it was like 2 giant mountains madly bombarding the elf array. Bang! With the second earth-shaking bang, the light of the entire elf array was dim, and cracks appeared on the light shield, which quickly spread to the entire array. At this time, the ice flame Kirin, which had already transformed into its true form, slapped down with its mountain-like claws. The elf array was completely broken. Thunder explosion. The cold voice of the sky blue thunder python resounded through the heavens and the earth. The 9 thunders of the sky covered the entire Elf King City like a rainstorm. Behind the devil ancestor, the figure of the devil gathered. When he opened his mouth, the devil aura of destruction blasted into the Elf King City like a raging river, sweeping to every corner of the King City. Ziyuandong panicked and swung the elf sword in his hand wildly, shooting out millions of sword energy. Sima, the head of the Hei family and other elf masters all took action. The elf army gathered millions of people and attacked in shock and anger. There were constant rumbling noises. The elf army was constantly blown away. At this time, the 10,000 feet iron chain of the heart demon ape was pulled down again, and it was pulled towards Ziyuandang, Sima and other elf masters. Ziyuandang, Sima and others looked at the 10,000 feet iron chain that was swinging. Their faces changed drastically, and they did not dare to take it head on, and retreated frantically. As soon as they retreated, the 10,000 feet iron chain whizzed past where they were standing originally. There was a loud rumbling noise. They saw that the elven palace behind them was torn in half. Two terrifying rifts extended all the way to the end of the palace. Countless palaces turned into powder. Blood rained everywhere. Seeing this, Ziyuandang was even more shocked. Compared with the Shiniao city, the Tonks demon ape was more than twice as strong. She looked over and saw that the rift-like wound on the Tonks demon ape's chest had healed. Seeing the elven army pouring in, the Tonks demon ape roared, and the sound waves rolled up an amazing hurricane, and wave after wave of elven troops were blown away. Seeing the Tonks demon ape so fierce, Sima and other gods and ancestors were all trembling. "Your Majesty, you are injured. Otherwise, let's retreat first." A god and ancestor trembled. The ferocity of the Tonks demon ape made the masters of the elves want to retreat. Ziyuandang was furious, pointing his sword at Yang Xiaoshan. "Everyone listen. Kill him for me, even if it means exterminating the whole clan." At this point, the elven sword in her hand was swung at Yang Xiaoshan first. She hated Yang Xiaoshan to the extreme. In the battle with the dwarf tribe, the elves lost nearly 1,000,000 troops. In the battle of Shiniao city, the elves lost hundreds of saints, thousands of elf royal families, core disciples, and even her most precious grandson Ziluo. All this is because of this human boy. If it weren't for this human boy, none of this would have happened. Under Ziyuandang's order, the elf army continued to attack Yang Xiaoshan and his men like a wave. Tonks demon ape slapped Ziyuandang's sword energy with the palm. His eyes were cold, and he took a step forward. The ape legs like a mountain carried the rolling demonic energy, and stepped directly to the elven palace. Sima and others were shocked and attacked one after another. However, Sima and others' attacks could not shake Tonks demon ape at all, and even the demonic energy on Tonks demon ape could not be cut off. The demonic energy on the Tonks demon ape was overwhelming, turning into a demon world with thousands of demons. Yang Xiaoshan also rushed into the elf army holding the burial heaven sword and the dragon control sword. Wherever he passed, the elf army kept flying. In the millions of elf troops, Yang Xiaoshan plowed one blood wave after another. Yang Xiaoshan urged the power of 11 sword hearts, and the 9-color sword energy gushed out of his body. From a distance, it looked like a group of 9-color light balls flying among the millions of elf troops. Wherever the 9-color light balls passed, blood waves surged, extremely bright and dazzling. The devil ancestor of destruction and the azure thunder python followed Yang Xiaoshan and rushed into the elf army. Suddenly, the whole elf king city was like a bloody rain, and the bloody rain almost blocked the sunlight in the sky, and the Tonks demon ape actually fought alone against more than a dozen powerful gods in Ziyuandang and Sima. He killed more than a dozen people in Ziyuandang and Sima, and made them spurt blood. His violent killing intent ravaged the world. The ice flame Kirin's body was filled with ice blue flames. With one claw, it split the mountains, and cracked the earth, freezing thousands of miles. The ancestors of the holy realm of the elves were either blown up or frozen. Wherever it went, no one could stop it. Yang Xiaoshan was constantly overwhelmed by the elves' army, and he kept blasting the surrounding army away. The two divine golden pills were emitting light, and the power of true essence was endless from the two swords in his hands. His whole body of blood was completely stretched out, turning into a 1,000-mile sea of blood. Suddenly, heat waves rolled, and the blood yang energy illuminated half of the Elf King city. The strong elves were stunned to see that Yang Xiaoshan's whole body of blood was so powerful. Chapter 366 The Birth of Death. Ki and blood can travel thousands of miles. Even many Saint Realm masters of the Elf clan may not have such powerful ki and blood. And Yang Xiaoshan is just a martial emperor. Kill him. Seeing this, Ziyuandang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. She wanted to rush to Yang Xiaoshan, but as soon as she rushed out, she was forced back by the 10,000-foot iron chain of the Tonks demon ape. Bang! There was only a loud bang. A powerful god of the elf clan was hit by the 10,000-foot iron chain, and the whole person was pulled out and smashed through the wall of the Elf King city. When he rolled to the ground, his armor exploded, and his head was bloody, and had completely split. Seeing this, all the powerful gods of the elf clan took a breath of cold air. Although the gods are powerful, their vitality and ki and blood are terrifying, but if their heads are split, even gods cannot survive. Yanzu, the direct descendant of this powerful god of the elf clan, all cried out in grief. The iron chain in the hands of the demon ape was swung at Ziyuandong and others again. Seeing the iron chain that seemed to come from the hands of the god of death, Ziyuandong and others all felt their hair stand on end. But not long after, the head of the He family was whipped away by the iron chain again. Just like the Yanzu just now, when the head of the He family was smashed to the ground, his head was completely cracked. Sima and others who had originally planned to hold on were all trembling with fear. "Your Majesty, let's retreat first." A powerful elf god almost cried and begged. The two heads of the He family who just died were both in the first level of the god realm. He felt that he would be the next one, because he was the weakest among the remaining elf gods. Ziyuandong looked around the city, and saw that the elf army was completely slaughtered by Yang Xiaoshan and Shan King Li Mang. His eyes turned red and he roared, "Retreat." Hearing Ziyuandong's order to retreat, Sima and others all breathed a sigh of relief. No one wanted to fight anymore, and they all retreated. The elf army that had surrounded Yang Xiaoshan was also retreating like a tide. In the end, the elf army of tens of millions of people completely retreated. Yang Xiaoshan and others did not continue to chase. After all, this time they came mainly for the Tree of Life. Looking at the Elf King city that was almost in ruins, Yang Xiaoshan said, "Let's go to the forbidden area first." The Tree of Life is in the Elf Forbidden area. The Forbidden area is not in the Elf King city, but it is not far from the Elf King city. Soon, Yang Xiaoshan came to the forbidden area and saw the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is 100 feet tall, green and radiant, with a little golden light on it. There are small shadows flying between the trees. Looking closely, they are thumb-sized life elves. These elves have no entity, but are transformed by spiritual energy, making the Tree of Life beautiful like a dream. Looking at the Tree of Life in front of him, Yang Xiaoshan couldn't help but admire it, and even the demon apes were amazed. "I heard that this Tree of Life is more than 1 million years old." The demon ape said, "It was brought back from the prehistoric battlefield by the ancient ancestors of the elves." Yang Xiaoshan nodded. The next step was how to move the Tree of Life. Just when Yang Xiaoshan wanted the demon apes to take action, the old Manding, who had not moved for a long time, said, "Let me do it." After that, he flew up into the air and became as big as a mountain. Then, the mouth of the cauldron swallowed the Tree of Life. Suddenly, the surrounding ground shook and cracked, and the Tree of Life slowly flew out from the ground. It was the first time that the demon ape knew about the existence of the old Manding. Looking at the old Manding in the sky, he was stunned. He had lived for nearly 10,000 years, but this was the first time he saw a medicine cauldron that gave birth to a spirit. Just as Yang Xiaoshan collected the Tree of Life, the 10,000 feet bone mountain was also approaching the Elf King city at an astonishing speed. Wherever the 10,000 feet bone mountain passed, the originally lush land turned into a dead gray, and all the green grass and trees seemed to have been drained of vitality and died instantly. Even the originally clear river turned into a river of death, and all the fish and creatures in the river floated up dead bodies. Ziyuandong, who had escaped from the Elf King's city, and Sima were fleeing in a hurry with the elf army when they suddenly saw a huge bone mountain flying towards them from the distant sky. Feeling the terrifying death energy of the huge bone mountain, Ziyuandong, Sima and others all changed color. "It's the immortal death energy. All the troops will meet the enemy," Ziyuandong shouted. The 10,000 Zhang Bone Mountain came very quickly, and in the blink of an eye it had arrived in front of Ziyuandong and others. When the 10,000 Zhang Bone Mountain came in front of them, Ziyuandong and others felt the surging immortal death energy of the 10,000 Zhang Bone Mountain, and their faces changed drastically. At this time, the 10,000 Zhang Bone Mountain suddenly cracked, and an evil young man walked out from the inside of the Bone Mountain. The young man was wearing a brocade robe full of death energy, and the death energy on it was constantly flowing. Feeling the terrifying immortal death energy of the young man, Ziyuandong's face was solemn. The young man looked at the millions of elves, and smiled evilly at Ziyuandong. "Are you the current queen of the elves?" You are only at the 3rd level of the divine spirit. I didn't expect that after a million years, the elves would be so weak. Ziyuandong felt short of breath when facing the young man. She circulated her divine power, clenched the elf sword in her hand, and asked in a deep voice, "Who are you?" "Who am I?" The young man thought for a while and smiled. "A million years ago, the people of Yukangshen continent called me the Immortal Death God." Immortal Death God. Ziyuandong, Sima and others lost their voices, and all of them were shaking with fear. Many elf masters were so scared that they dropped their swords. Impossible. The Lord of Kangshen had already killed the Immortal Death God. You can't be the Immortal Death God. An elf ancestor shook his head excitedly, as if he had lost his mind. Ziyuandong didn't believe it either. After all, the divine book clearly recorded that the Immortal Death God had been killed by the Lord of Kangshen. The young man chuckled. "It doesn't matter if you don't believe it, because you will soon become the first batch of god level undead under my command." At this point, the immortal death energy rushed into the sky like a tsunami. When the immortal death energy in his body rushed into the sky, the clouds in the 9 heavens changed color. The originally white clouds turned into grey death clouds, and even the sky that was just clear turned into a dead grey. All the skulls in the 10,000 feet bone mountain behind him were drowned by Ziyuandong and Sima and others. Suddenly, screams rang out. One after another, the elf army was swallowed by the 10,000 feet bone mountain. Ziyuandong, Sima and others attacked frantically, but they found in despair that when they blew up these skulls instantly condensed again. These skulls can't be killed at all. At this time, Ziyuandong and others saw that only by killing the young man could these skulls be killed. Kill him. Sima made up his mind and suddenly stabbed the young man with a sword. Upon seeing this, the young man flicked his finger lightly, and Sima was sent flying, falling to the ground far away. Then, Sima screamed in agony, as his chest had been pierced by the young man's finger force, and the immortal death energy was madly devouring his flesh and blood, and even his soul. Chapter 367. Kang Xiang takes action. Sima's whole body was rotting, gradually turning into a dead spirit. Soon, Sima, who had just screamed miserably, stopped screaming. When Sima stood up again, his appearance had completely changed. The flesh and blood on his body had completely disappeared. He was full of undead aura, and his grey eyes were burning with strange flames. Ziyuandong and others were all terrified. "Don't worry, you will soon become undead spirits like him." The undead god of death laughed, and suddenly grabbed the chest of the elf queen Ziyuandong. Ziyuandong was shocked, and was about to retreat, but the undead god of death's hand was too fast, and it instantly pierced through her chest, and then came out from behind her. Ziyuandong stood still in midair, looking at her chest in disbelief. "I said, you will soon become the first batch of undead spirits under my command." The cold voice of the undead god of death echoed in the sky for a long time. At this time, in the forbidden land of the elves, under the swallowing of the medicine cauldron, the entire tree of life finally broke through the ground and flew out. The roots of the tree of life were extremely long and dense, emitting a surging life force. Fortunately, the medicine cauldron was used, otherwise, it would not be easy for Yang Xiaoshan and his companions to take the tree of life out of the ground intact. Then, the tree of life flew into the inner space of the medicine cauldron. Yang Xiaoshan also took away the soil where the tree of life was planted. After being infused with the life spirit of the tree of life, the soil was already a rare treasure soil, and it could be used to plant the tree of life in the future. After getting the tree of life, Yang Xiaoshan and his companions immediately left the forbidden land of the elves. When passing through the king city of the elves, Yang Xiaoshan blasted open the treasure house of the elves, and he and the demon ape moved the treasure house away. The elves were inherited from ancient times, and it was conceivable how amazing the treasures in the treasure house of the elves were. The endless spiritual stone peaks alone made the demon ape, the ice flame unicorn and others stunned. Yang Xiaoshan has no shortage of spiritual stones now, and he is not sensitive to them, but a jade bottle in the treasure house caught his attention, because he sensed the surging life force in the jade bottle. When he opened the jade bottle, he saw rays of life light rising from the jade bottle, and inside was a bottle full of green liquid. Life spirit liquid. The demon apes said in unison. Yang Xiaoshan was also surprised when he looked at the life spirit liquid in the jade bottle. He also knew that the life tree could only produce 1 drop of life spirit liquid in a year, and this bottle of life spirit liquid should have tens of thousands of drops. Life spirit liquid is also a treasure for improving ki and blood, and the effect is many times better than life spirit. With so much life spirit liquid, it is enough to improve his ki and blood by a large margin. Yang Xiaoshan put away this bottle of life spirit liquid. Afterwards, several people took the Abyss spaceship to break through the air and leave. Not long after Yang Xiaoshan left the Elf King city, the undead death drove the 10,000 feet Bone Mountain to the Elf Forbidden Land. However, when the undead death saw that the life tree had been taken away, his face was gloomy. He came to the elves this time mainly for the tree of life. Now, the tree of life has been taken away. Who is it? His eyes were full of murderous intent. Without the tree of life, many of his plans would fail. Looking for death. You'd better not let me find out who you are, he said angrily. At this time, Yang Xiaoshan found an unmanned mountain, swallowed a mouthful of life spirit liquid and 6-fold heavenly tribulation thunder water, and began to practice. After a day of practice, sure enough, he could clearly feel that his blood and ki had obviously improved a lot compared to before. In the following days, Yang Xiaoshan did not go anywhere and continued to swallow life spirit liquid and 6-fold heavenly tribulation thunder water to practice on this unmanned mountain. After several days, Yang Xiaoshan's blood and ki improved amazingly, and his strength was close to the 3rd late stage of the martial emperor. On this day, when Yang Xiaoshan was practicing, the devil ancestor who went out to inquire about the news brought back a shocking news. What? The millions of elves troops were all swallowed by the immortal death energy. Whether it was the demon ape, the ice flame unicorn, or the sky blue thunder python, they were all shocked when they heard the news. Yes, even the elf queen, Seema and others could not escape. The face of the devil ancestor of destruction was extremely solemn. It was the immortal death god who attacked. The immortal death god is still alive. The immortal death god is still alive. The faces of the demon ape, the ice flame Kirin, and the sky blue thunder python all changed drastically. Originally, they thought that someone had obtained the immortal god scripture, not the immortal death god or the immortal evil god. But they did not expect that it was the immortal death god. The immortal death god is an ancient god. Even the lord of the Kang god regarded it as the supreme terror of his lifelong enemy. When Yang Xiaoshan heard that the immortal death god was born, his heart sank. What is the situation now? Yang Xiaoshan asked the devil ancestor of destruction in a deep voice. Now the elf undead army is killing everywhere. Everyone in the 100 Races Empire is in danger. All races are terrified and in a panic. The devil ancestor Mishan said in a deep voice, the Sky Demon clan, the Charm clan, and the Dwarf clan have all opened the great formation with all their strength, and the disciples of the clan are forbidden to go out. Has the Kang Shenfu army not arrived yet? Yang Xiaoshan asked. Not yet. The devil ancestor Mishan shook his head, but even if the Kang Shenfu army comes, it will be useless. After all, there are more than a dozen spirit level undead from the elf clan this time. Unless the lord of the Kang Shenfu or Lord Kang Xiang personally takes action. The devil ancestor Mishan said. Yang Xiaoshan nodded. The next day, the Kang Shenfu army finally arrived. What excited the 100 Races Empire was that the lord of the Kang Shenfu and Lord Kang Xiang arrived at the same time. Kang Xiang and the undead god of death had a world-destroying battle. The two fought so hard that the sky collapsed and the earth split. Countless cities and mountains were destroyed by the power of the two. Even though Yang Xiaoshan was very far away from the place where the two fought, he could still feel the power of the two to destroy the world. Under the power of the two, the millions of powerful men in the 100 Races Empire were trembling. After a day of fighting, it was finally calm. The devil ancestor of destruction went out to inquire about the news and soon came back, saying excitedly, the immortal death god was defeated and fled to the eternal burial ground. Lord Kang Xiang has already chased him. Yang Xiaoshan frowned when he heard this. The immortal death god fled to the eternal burial ground. In a few months, he will have to enter the eternal burial ground to find the last piece of innate divine iron. If the immortal death god is hiding in the eternal burial ground, then it will be extremely dangerous for him to enter the eternal burial ground at that time. The demon apes were also not happy. Now, although Kang Xian can defeat the immortal death god, he can't kill the immortal death god at all. As long as the immortal death god is still alive, the major empires of the Kangshen continent will be in danger at any time. Master Ding, do you have any way to kill the immortal death god? Yang Xiaoshan asked. Yao Ding pondered and said, with my current ability, it's difficult. Even if there is the 9 heavenly tribulation thunder water, it won't work. Yang Xiaoshan asked. No. Yao Ding shook his head and said, the immortal death energy is the most difficult death energy to eliminate in the world. Even if the immortal death god still has a trace of immortal death energy, he can be resurrected. Chapter 368, Eternal Heaven Coffin. Hearing Yao Ding say that it couldn't kill the immortal death god now, Yang Xiaoshan's heart sank. However, although Yao Ding couldn't kill the immortal death god now, as long as there was the 9 heavenly tribulation thunder water, it could severely injure the immortal death god. Yang Xiaoshan felt more relieved. Young master, the immortal death god escaped into the eternal burial ground, and I'm afraid he was heading for the eternal heavenly tomb. The demon ape said, if you enter the eternal heavenly tomb, it will be very dangerous. It's more than dangerous. Even if the immortal death god was injured by the Kang Xian, he was not a match for the demon ape and his men. Now in the entire Kangshen continent, only the Kang Xian could suppress the immortal death god. The eternal heavenly tomb is open, I must go. Yang Xiaoshan said firmly. There was only one piece of innate divine iron left to repair the Kangshen sword. This time, he must enter the eternal heavenly tomb. If he missed this time, he would have to wait another year for the next time. The eternal heavenly tomb has the eternal heavenly coffin. If the immortal death god gets the eternal heavenly coffin, it will be troublesome. Bingayan Kilin said with a heavy heart. Yes, if the immortal death god gets the eternal heaven coffin, I'm afraid that Lord Kang Xian will not be able to suppress the immortal death god, even if he takes action. The Azure Thunder Python also looked worried. Yang Xiaoshan was silent. He also knew something about the eternal heaven tomb. There was an eternal heaven coffin buried in the eternal heaven tomb. This coffin was the treasure of the ancient Huanquan demon sect, and one of the most evil and terrifying ancient artifacts. And it was rumored that the most powerful ancient ancestor of the Huanquan demon sect was buried in the eternal heaven coffin. This ancient ancestor was not really dead. If he was controlled by the immortal death god and turned into an immortal dead spirit, it would be a real horror. However, there is a heavenly dragon god fruit in the eternal heaven tomb. If the young master can get the heavenly dragon god fruit, he may be able to cultivate his blood and ki to a level that defies the heavens. The demon ape said. Back then, the heavenly dragon sword god entered the eternal heaven tomb, obtained the heavenly dragon god fruit, and his cultivation level increased greatly, and he comprehended the heavenly dragon sword Dao. Yang Xiaoshan nodded. In fact, he entered the eternal heaven tomb this time to find the dragon god fruit. The dragon god fruit is a divine medicine of heaven and earth with magical effects. It can not only enhance blood and ki, but also improve cultivation, and this divine medicine of heaven and earth has no side effects. If he can get the dragon god fruit, it will be enough to cultivate his blood and ki to the unparalleled realm of the ages. Next, Yang Xiaoshan swallowed the life spirit liquid in the 6th heaven tribulation thunder water to practice every day. At the same time, he asked the devil ancestor of destruction to inquire about the whereabouts of the 9th heaven tribulation thunder water and the first 3 divine fires. Now, only the first 3 divine fires can suppress the immortal death. Therefore, he must find the first 3 divine fires, day after day, under the effect of the life spirit liquid in the 6th heaven tribulation thunder water. Yang Xiaoshan's cultivation and blood and ki improved rapidly. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. July is coming. The sun is getting hotter. Yang Xiaoshan sat cross-legged under the life god tree, his blood and ki rolling endlessly, and his blood and ki continued to spread out, reaching a radius of 2,000 miles. At this time, his strength also broke through to the 6th level of the martial emperor. Seeing the blood and ki rolling around Yang Xiaoshan, which was as hot as the sun, the demon apes were all shocked. In the past few months, nothing major had happened in the 100 Races Empire. Since the last time the Kang Shenfu army and the Kang Xiang attacked, the elf undead army had been annihilated. More than a dozen elf undead in the god realm were also killed by the lord of the Kang Shenfu. Although there were still some scattered undead in the 100 Races Empire, each race could handle it. However, there had been no news of the undead god of death since he escaped into the Eternal Burial Ground. Even if the Kang Xiang searched the Eternal Burial Ground, he could not find any trace of the undead god of death. As long as the undead god of death did not die, the Kangshen continent could become a purgatory on Earth at any time. Seeing that the time for the opening of the Eternal Heavenly Tomb was approaching, Yang Xiaoshan stopped practicing, and then he and the demon apes began to rush to the Eternal Burial Ground. 10 days later, when Yang Xiaoshan and others arrived at the Eternal Burial Ground, it was noon. However, the Eternal Burial Ground was filled with gloomy air. A layer of light grey mist covered the sky above the burial ground. It was this grey mist that blocked the sunlight. In the grey mist, there was death, corpse, and poisonous miasma. Weak warriors who entered the burial ground and inhaled the grey mist would be poisoned and hurt their internal organs, or even die from rotting. Yang Xiaoshan and his companions broke through the mist and entered the burial ground. After Yang Xiaoshan entered the burial ground, he wore divine armor for 24 hours. After all, no one knew when the immortal god of death would suddenly jump out. Since the immortal god of death lurked in the eternal burial ground, no one was seen when the eternal tomb was opened this time. The entire burial ground was silent. At a glance, there were only tall tombs, but no one was seen. These people were all famous in the 100 Races Empire when they were alive. The demon ape looked at the countless graves and sighed. After millions of years, no matter how powerful the existence is, it is just a pile of bones. Even if it is as powerful as a god, or even a being that surpasses the gods, it is impossible to be immortal. Suddenly, a corpse flew out of a grave and bit the crowd. These corpses are the product of some kind of mutation after the death of powerful warriors, so their strength is not weak. However, several people directly slap these corpses with a palm. Although these corpses are not weak, they are generally only at the emperor level, and there are very few corpses at the saint level. Several people have forgotten how many graves they have turned over, and the sky gradually darkened. At night, the dead things are rampant in the burial ground. The eternal heaven tomb will not be opened for 2 days, so several people found a relatively safe grove to rest for a night. Open fire attracts dead things, so several people did not light a fire and sat on the ground to drink. So, in a few days, when you break through the realm of martial honor, you can actually take part in the assessment of Kangshen Academy and join Kangshen Academy. The demon ape suddenly said. Join Kangshen Academy. Yang Xiaoshan was stunned. Yes, with your talent, you can definitely pass the assessment of Kangshen Academy and join Kangshen Academy. The demon ape said. Kangshen Academy was established by Kangshen Mansion, and it is also the first academy of our Kangshen continent. It gathers almost the most evil geniuses from the major empires of Kangshen continent. Back then, Kangshen Mansion established Kangshen Academy to select geniuses. Geniuses who perform well in Kangshen Academy can directly join Kangshen Mansion after graduation without taking the assessment of Kangshen Mansion. Yang Xiaoshan's heart was moved. However, you must be a martial honor to take part in the assessment of Kangshen Academy. The demon ape said. Yang Xiaoshan nodded. At his current training speed, he is expected to break through to martial honor within half a year. Later, Yang Xiaoshan learned from the demon ape that Kangshen Academy was in the 10,000 Gods Empire, the first empire of Kangshen continent. I don't know whether Kangshen Academy has divine fire, but I know that Kangshen Academy has a divine sword. The demon ape said. The third ranked divine shadow sword is in Kangshen Academy. The divine shadow sword is a sword of the ancient god Lord Shanying. It is invisible and can kill people without being seen. It is very terrifying. Chapter 369 The last piece of innate divine un. The divine shadow sword. Yang Xiaoshan read. In the notes of Kao Shun, the dean of the Divine Sword Academy, he had read about the 10 great divine swords, so he was no stranger to the divine shadow sword. After Lord Divine Shadow died, the divine shadow sword has been without a master. The demon ape said. However, no one in Kangshen Academy has been able to subdue the divine shadow sword for so many years. Let alone subdue it. No one can find the divine shadow sword, because the divine shadow sword is invisible and invisible. Even if it is right in front of you, you can't see it at all. Bing Iron Killen smiled and said, young master has 11 invincible sword hearts. If you enter Kangshen Academy, you will definitely be able to find the divine shadow sword. Xian Kingli Mang smiled and said, I heard that the dean of Kangshen Academy has set a rule that whoever can subdue the divine shadow sword will be his direct disciple in the future. Several people began to talk about the divine shadow sword. The night finally passed. Yang Xiaoshan and his friends continued on their way. As they went deeper, they encountered more and more dead things. Bing Iron Killen and his friends killed them all the way. One day later, they finally arrived in front of the Eternal Heaven tomb. In front of Yang Xiaoshan and others, there stood an extremely huge ancient tomb. The tomb was somewhat like a pyramid, and the entire surface was shining with golden light, but it was filled with an extremely strong death aura. This kind of death aura could not be seen, but everyone could sense it. At this time, the stone door of the ancient tomb was closed, and there was still half a day before the tomb was opened. Yang Xiaoshan and others hid themselves and waited for the tomb to be opened. As soon as they hid themselves, they heard several sounds of breaking through the air from far away, and several middle-aged men in green robes landed in front of the ancient tomb. A conspicuous fan character was printed on the chests of several people. Seeing the middle-aged man's attire, the devil ancestor of destruction was surprised. The Brahma family of the Great Brahma Empire. The Great Brahma Empire is definitely one of the strongest empires in the Kangshan continent. In terms of strength, it is not much weaker than the 10,000 Gods Empire. The Fan family is the first family of the Great Brahma Empire, and one of the oldest and most powerful families in the Kangshan continent. Unexpectedly, people from the Brahma family of the Great Brahma Empire came when the Eternal Heaven tomb was opened. The masters of the Fan family were full of divine power, and they were obviously masters of the divine realm. After they arrived, they also hid themselves, waiting for the opening of the heavenly tomb. Not long after the people of the Fan family of the Great Brahma Empire arrived, another group of people arrived. This group of people was full of dead air. It's the Yunfeng sect of the Futu Empire. The immortal demon ancestor was surprised. The Futu Empire, like the Great Brahma Empire, is one of the strongest empires in the Kangshan continent. The Yunfeng sect is one of the most powerful sects in the Futu Empire. The Yunfeng sect is inherited from the ancient Huanquan demon sect, and the founder of the Yunfeng sect is an elder of the ancient Huanquan demon sect. Yang Xiaoshan frowned. The masters of the Fan family and the Yunfeng sect are here. Are they also here for the heavenly dragon fruit and the eternal heavenly coffin? The Great Brahma Empire and the Futu Empire are extremely far away from the eternal heavenly tomb. They have come all the way here, and naturally it is not for ordinary treasures. If they come for the heavenly dragon fruit and the eternal heavenly coffin, it will be very troublesome. After the arrival of the masters of the Fan family and the Yunfeng sect, no other masters came. Time passed. Suddenly, the light of the eternal tomb vibrated, and the stone door slowly opened. Seeing that the eternal tomb was finally opened, the people of the Yunfeng sect could not wait to flash into the tomb. Later, the masters of the Fan family followed the people of the Yunfeng sect and entered the tomb. After waiting for a while, seeing that no one else entered the tomb, Yang Xiaoshan and the demon ape flashed in. There is another space in the tomb, and the end is endless. Yang Xiaoshan identified the direction and flew to the extreme north. Because the dwarf tribe leader Man Fang said that someone had seen a piece of innate divine iron in the extreme north of the tomb. That piece of innate divine iron was on the top of the purple cold ice peak, and no one could take it away because no one could get close to the purple cold ice peak. Others could not enter the purple cold ice peak, but it was not difficult for Yang Xiaoshan, who possessed the divine fire. There was nothing wrong along the way. There were many spiritual medicines on the way, but Yang Xiaoshan ignored them. Now, he had to rush to the purple ice peak with all his strength, because the heavenly tomb would only be open for one day. More than an hour later, several people entered the extreme north area of the heavenly tomb. After entering the extreme north area, the cold air was overwhelming, and purple snow was everywhere. The ground was covered with layers of purple ice. Although it was not purple ice yet, Yang Xiaoshan and his friends were still cold to the bone, and Yang Xiaoshan had to activate the power of the flame of the earth. The further they flew, the stronger the cold air became. The purple snow gradually disappeared, but it was replaced by purple cold wind. When the purple cold wind blew, several people felt like they were frozen into ice sculptures. The purple cold wind was getting stronger and stronger. Seeing this, Yang Ocean summoned the Thousand Buddha's divine fire. Under the resistance of the Thousand Buddha's divine fire, several people came to the deepest part of the extreme north area. There was a tall purple ice peak standing in front of them, and the purple cold air was pervasive. There were countless ice sculptures around the ice peak, which were obviously all masters of the sect who were frozen to death by the purple cold ice air. Yang Ocean asked a few people to wait for him here, and then flew forward alone. The closer he got to the purple ice peak, the more terrifying the purple ice key became. The purple ice key here was 10 times stronger than the purple ice key in the heavenly Buddha cauldron. Fortunately, Yang Ocean had the divine fire, otherwise, he would not be able to reach the purple ice peak by relying on the flame of the earth alone. Relying on the power of the Thousand Buddha's divine fire, Yang Ocean passed through the layers of purple ice key and finally came to the top of the purple ice peak and saw the whole picture of the ice peak. On the top of the purple ice peak, there was a piece of innate divine iron the size of a human head, which was inserted at the highest point. Seeing that there was indeed innate divine iron on the purple ice peak, Yang Ocean was overjoyed. Such a large piece of innate divine iron was enough for him to repair the Kangshan sword, and there was still some left. At this moment, Yang Ocean exerted the power of the Thousand Buddha's divine fire to the fullest, and walked step by step to the innate divine iron. Under the burning of the Thousand Buddha's divine fire, the purple ice covering the surface of the innate divine iron finally melted completely. Yang Ocean grabbed the innate divine iron and put it into the medicine cauldron. As soon as he received the innate divine iron, he immediately retreated. There was no hesitation, because he sensed a terrifying and abnormal ice energy under the Zihan ice peak. This ice energy was so strong that even the Thousand Buddha's divine fire could not suppress it. Sure enough, at the moment when Yang Ocean retreated, suddenly, the entire Zihan ice peak exploded like a volcanic eruption, and a terrifying ice energy gushed out from the ice peak. This ice energy was actually purple-black, purple to black, black to make people tremble. The terrifying cold air swept across the world. Yang Ocean was shocked and had no time to think about it. He summoned the Thunder Tribulation divine fire, and the two divine fires protected his body. He fled out with all his strength and shouted at the same time, "Get out!" The demon apes outside heard Yang Ocean's anxious voice, did not dare to hesitate, and fled out. Yang Ocean fled all the way, and the purple black ice energy behind him rolled and chased him like a tsunami, and it was getting closer and closer. Chapter 370 Ding Hang Immortal Death God. Seeing the purple black ice gas approaching from behind, Yang Ocean's face changed. You know, the Thousand Buddha's divine fire cannot suppress the purple black ice gas at all. Once he is swallowed by the purple black ice gas, the consequences for him will be the same as those sect masters who were frozen into ice sculptures. At that moment, Yang Ocean roared, and two divine golden pills flew out. The light of the two divine golden pills illuminated the space. Even the purple black ice gas was illuminated by the two divine golden pills. The heaven and earth shook. Affected by the power of the two divine golden pills, the speed of the purple black ice gas slowed down. Seeing this, Yang Ocean used the dragon art to operate at full power, covered with dragon scales, and the wings of the real dragon behind him spread out. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a residual image and pierced through the purple cold ice gas. With Yang Ocean's desperate efforts, he finally pulled the purple black ice gas behind him away. When he flew far enough, the purple black ice gas behind him finally ran out of power, slowed down, and finally stopped. Yang Ocean was like a survivor, and he touched his forehead, which was full of cold sweat. Fortunately, there were two divine golden elixirs, otherwise it would be hard to say whether he could escape just now. However, he finally escaped. Yang Ocean felt relieved. Now that the last piece of innate divine iron was obtained, the next step was to find the Cheyenne Long divine fruit. He came to the side of the demon apes and left with them. The Cheyenne Long divine fruit was in a place called Cheyenne Long Hall in the ancient tomb. This was not a secret. However, the door of the Cheyenne Long Hall was extremely difficult to open. For countless years, only the Cheyenne Long Sword God had opened the door of the Cheyenne Long Hall. As for whether he could open it, Yang Xiaoshan was not sure. However, he had to try anyway. The Xianlong Hall was in the south of the ancient tomb. With Yang Xiaoshan and his men rushing at full speed, they finally arrived at the Xianlong Hall. The Xianlong Hall was located halfway up a mountain. It was not big, but it was extremely conspicuous. Because the entire mountain was bare, there were no trees, no other creatures, only a Xianlong Hall was located there, lonely, giving people a very strange feeling. Yang Xiaoshan landed in front of the Xianlong Hall. Just when Yang Xiaoshan and his companions arrived at the Xianlong Hall, a young man in a robe of death also flew towards the south of the ancient tomb. The young man was none other than the immortal death god. At this moment, his face was a little pale, and it was obvious that he had been seriously injured by the blue bear a few days ago. Thinking of being injured by the blue bear, the immortal death god's eyes were filled with murderous intent. If he had not cultivated the immortal god canon to the highest level in this life, he would not have been injured by a blue bear, who took away the tree of life. He was furious. If he had the tree of life, and integrated the powerful vitality of the tree of life, he would be able to cultivate the immortal god canon to the highest level of life and death depend on each other. I will definitely find you. The immortal death god looked cold, and then flew to the south at a very fast speed. Just as Yang Xiaoshan and his companions guessed, the immortal death god entered the burial ground this time, to find the eternal heaven coffin. As far as the immortal death god knew, the eternal heaven coffin was very likely to be in a piece of flame mountain south of the heavenly tomb. Yang Xiaoshan didn't know that the undead god of death was flying towards him at a high speed. He stood in front of the gate of the Xianlong Hall, staring at the huge runes on the gate. When he was in the Sword Academy, he specialized in studying the dragon characters. These huge runes were the dragon characters. However, these dragon characters were somewhat different from the dragon characters he studied, and Yang Xiaoshan could only vaguely understand the meaning of these dragon characters. Yang Xiaoshan thought about it, put his palms on the gate, and activated the dragon technique. The power of the real dragon surged from his palms. The originally closed door of the Xianlong Hall was shaking with light, and was slowly pushed open. The demon apes were stunned. The Xianlong Hall was opened so easily. Although the Xianlong Sword God entered the Xianlong Hall that year, it took a lot of effort to open it. Just as Yang Xiaoshan opened the gate of the Xianlong Hall, in the distant sky, the undead god of death was breaking through the air at a high speed. He saw the open door of the Xianlong Hall from a distance, and was stunned, and then full of surprise. The heavenly dragon divine fruit was extremely beneficial to his recovery from injuries, which was an unexpected surprise. He increased his speed, and flew towards Yang Xiaoshan and the others. The demon apes also noticed the immortal death god. When they sensed the death aura of the immortal death god, their faces changed drastically, and they all thought of something at the same time. Immortal death god. The demon apes said in unison. Yang Xiaoshan was also shocked. At this time, the immortal death god flashed and landed in front of the others. He glanced at the open door of the Xianlong Palace, then his eyes fell on Yang Xiaoshan, and he said with a smile, "Little guy, it turned out that you opened the door of the Xianlong Palace. It seems that we are quite destined to meet again so soon." Then, he asked curiously, "But I'm very curious about how you subdued the thousand Buddha's divine fire." After Yang Xiaoshan was shocked, he calmed down instead. He stared at the immortal death god. "Subduing the thousand Buddha's divine fire is nothing. I also killed the deep sea demon Kun." The immortal death god was stunned, and then laughed, looking at Yang Xiaoshan jokingly. "Little guy, you said you killed the deep sea demon Kun?" The deep sea demon Kun, of course he knew. The deep sea demon Kun was older than him, and even he didn't dare to say that he could hurt the deep sea demon Kun. The little guy in front of him actually said that he killed the deep sea demon Kun. "Little guy, do you think you can scare me away by saying that?" The immortal death god laughed. Just as the immortal death god was laughing, suddenly, darkness burst out of Yang Xiaoshan's body, and boundless cold air swept across the world. A huge and almost boundless dark basalt appeared above Yang Xiaoshan's head. When the dark basalt appeared, the space of the eternal heavenly tomb felt like it was about to be filled. Countless corners of the eternal heavenly tomb were filled with dazzling forbidden light. The immortal death god, who was originally laughing, looked at the huge and boundless dark basalt and was shocked. This, the Supreme King Martial Soul? The masters of the Brahma family and the Yinfeng sect who entered the eternal heavenly tomb also looked at the dark basalt in the sky in horror. It's the Supreme King Martial Soul. Then, the immortal death god and others saw a golden red soul ring appear around the body of the dark basalt. When the golden red soul ring appeared, the terrifying divine power enveloped the world. The entire eternal heavenly tomb was shaking, and the earth began to crack. In the golden red soul ring, a huge dark figure appeared. A breath of the deep sea demon Kun, like an endless sea of souls, blasted the undead god of death, to retreat again and again. Deep sea demon Kun soul ring. This little guy was not trying to scare him, he really killed the deep sea demon Kun. The undead god of death was in a state of shock. Just as the undead god of death was in a state of shock, suddenly, Yang Ocean shouted, "Master Ding!" The medicine cauldron flew up into the air and instantly swelled, becoming even larger than the deep sea demon Kun, and then blasted out. Boom. The undead god of death was distracted and was hit by the medicine cauldron. The whole person was like a falling meteor, smashing through countless mountains and rivers. Chapter 371 Just one more sword. The immortal death god smashed at the end of the heavenly tomb. In a pile of rubble, he spurted blood and looked in horror at the direction of the heavenly dragon hall. Looking at the giant tripod that supported the sky, he dared not stay any longer. He broke through the air and fled from the eternal heavenly tomb in a panic. Boy, the immortal death god will definitely come back to find you. The voice of the immortal death god echoed over the heavenly tomb. When the masters of the Fan family and the Yinfeng sect were guessing who the young man who was blown away just now was, they suddenly heard the voice of the immortal death god, and were so scared that their legs trembled. They never thought that the one who was blown away just now was the immortal death god. Hearing the voice of the immortal death god, Yang Ocean frowned. Just now, Master Ding had used up the last mouthful of the 9-layer heavenly tribulation thunder water, so he was able to severely injure the immortal death god. If he met the immortal death god again next time, he would not be able to resist the immortal death god at all. It seems that we have to find the 9-layer heavenly tribulation thunder water as soon as possible. The 9-layer heavenly tribulation thunder water is the foundation of life. Yang Ocean put away his martial soul and soul ring and turned to walk towards the gate of Cheyenne Lang Hall. The many ancestors of the Fan family and Yinfeng sect were frightened, but they couldn't help but be curious. They used their clairvoyance to look in the direction of Cheyenne Lang Hall and saw Yang Ocean and the demon ape. Yang Ocean sensed the peeping of the ancestors of the Fan family and Yinfeng sect and turned to look in the direction of the ancestors of the Fan family and Yinfeng sect, which frightened the ancestors of the Fan family and Yinfeng sect and quickly cut off their clairvoyance. Yang Ocean entered Cheyenne Lang Hall. Since only Yang Ocean could enter Cheyenne Lang Hall, the demon apes were waiting outside the hall. After the ancestor of the Fan family, Fan Ming, cut off his clairvoyance, Yang Ocean's figure was all in his mind. He was shocked. Who was this boy? He was actually the martial soul of the Supreme King, and even the immortal death god was defeated and fled. The ancestor of the Yinfeng sect, Dengfeng, was also shocked and couldn't calm down for a long time. The immortal death god was actually blasted by a boy. If it were to be spread out, it would definitely shock the world. Just as Yang Ocean entered the Cheyenne Lang Hall, the undead god of death also escaped from the eternal heavenly tomb. He fled all the way and stopped when he came to a certain tomb. Blood spurted out of his mouth again. At this moment, his mind was full of the soul ring of the deep sea demon Kun and the body of the medicine cauldron that supported the sky and the earth. At this moment, suddenly, a terrifying force enveloped the world, and the figure of Kang Xiang appeared in front of him. When the undead god of death saw that it was Kang Xiang, he didn't bother to think about Yang Ocean's million-year soul ring and flew away again. Today is definitely his most embarrassing day. Kang Xiang looked at the fleeing undead god of death, but his face was full of doubt. He could see that the undead god of death's injury was more serious than in the past few months, and the blood on the corner of his mouth was obviously new. Who actually hurt the undead god of death? There is such a powerful existence in the Kangshen continent? In doubt, he chased all the way. He really wanted to know who hurt the undead god of death. After Yang Xiaoshan entered the Xianlong Hall, what caught his eyes was the empty hall. There was nothing in the hall, except for long swords carved on the walls. There were 10 swords in total, no more, no less. Yang Xiaoshan discovered that these 10 swords were carved in the image of the 10 great swords. However, they were just 10 ordinary sword pictures, without any sword meaning or sword art. Yang Xiaoshan took a look, then walked through the hall, and came to the backyard. There was a 100-foot long divine tree planted in the backyard. This divine tree was shaped like a dragon, and the tree trunk was covered with bark like dragon scales. There were only 4 thick branches, just like the 4 claws of a dragon. The heavenly dragon divine tree. Yang Xiaoshan recognized the divine tree in his eyes. The heavenly dragon divine tree was a divine tree of the dragon clan. On the 4 thick branches, there was a heavenly dragon divine fruit the size of 2 fists. The fruit was fragrant and obviously just ripe. There was a faint shadow of a divine dragon in the divine fruit. Looking at this heavenly dragon divine fruit, Yang Xiaoshan was delighted. With this heavenly dragon divine fruit, he could cultivate his ki and blood to an amazing level. Yang Xiaoshan came to the Xianlong God fruit and picked it up. The Xianlong God fruit seemed to have a spirit, rolling around in Yang Xiaoshan's hand, like an haughty little dragon. Yang Xiaoshan put the Xianlong God fruit away, and then looked at the Xianlong God tree in front of him. He asked Uncle Ding if there was any way to take away the Xianlong God tree. Uncle Ding shook his head. The Xianlong God tree is completely connected to this Xianlong temple. Unless the Xianlong temple can be moved away, but this Xianlong temple has a lot of dragon power imprinted by the ancient dragon clan strongmen. Even if there are 10 mouths of 9-layer heavenly tribulation thunder water, I can't move it away. Yang Xiaoshan immediately gave up the idea when he heard it. However, if there are 100 mouths of 9-layer heavenly tribulation thunder water, I can still move this Xianlong temple and the Xianlong God tree away, Uncle Ding said. Yang Xiaoshan was too lazy to pay attention to this old man. After leaving the Xianlong temple, Yang Xiaoshan and the demon ape flew away and began to look for the eternal sky coffin. The eternal heavenly coffin naturally cannot fall into the hands of the immortal god of death, so he has to find the eternal heavenly coffin before the next eternal heavenly tomb opens. However, the demon ape and his men don't know much about the eternal heavenly coffin, and it is not easy to find the eternal heavenly coffin in the heavenly tomb. Just now the immortal god of death came in this direction, and the eternal heavenly coffin might be in this direction. Let's look for it in this direction. Yang Xiaoshan thought about it and said. So, several people looked in the direction of the immortal god of death. Soon, Yang Xiaoshan came to a flaming mountain. When Yang Xiaoshan was looking for the eternal heavenly coffin, hundreds of figures in the Shenlong Empire, hundreds of miles away, were flying towards the true dragon divine sect. The leader was none other than the demon heavenly sword god. Behind the demon heavenly sword god were the 4 super sects of the Tatian sect, the ancient god palace, the Fearing sword sect, and the Maha divine sect, as well as a group of gods and masters of the holy realm. Soon, everyone came to the gate of the true dragon divine sect. Is this the gate of the true dragon sect? The sword god of demon heaven asked coldly. Is Yang Xiaoshan from this true dragon sect? Yes, Lord Demon Heaven. Yang Xiaoshan is from the True Dragon sect, and he is also the son of the True Dragon sect. Wu Peng hurried forward to answer. The sword god of Demon Heaven's eyes were cold, and the sword of Demon Heaven in his hand flew up and suddenly slashed down at the True Dragon sect. Suddenly, a sword energy across the sky slashed down at the True Dragon sect. This sword energy was larger than the gate of the True Dragon sect. Feeling the terrifying power of the sword energy, Li Zhenqing, Hunan and the disciples of the True Dragon sect all looked up in fear. The sword energy instantly cut through the True Dragon sect's protective formation. Seeing that the sword energy was about to cut the entire True Dragon sect gate in half, suddenly, the sword road burst into light, and the infinite sword energy of the 18 sword monuments soared into the sky. The sword energy of Demon Heaven slashed on the infinite sword energy of the 18 sword monuments. There was a loud rumble. The sky and the earth were extinguished. Seeing that the power of the 18 sword monuments blocked his magic sword energy, the magic sword god was surprised. This is the sword path of the True Dragon sect. Wu Peng said quickly. It was left by a mysterious strong man. It is impossible to break it. The magic sword god sneered when he heard it. It is impossible to break it. I only need to strike it with one more sword. At this point, he broke through the air, and the sword energy permeated his body. Driven by his terrifying sword intent, one amazing sword energy after another condensed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 370 to 12 Sword Hearts. Soon, billions of sword ki gathered around the demon heaven sword god. The sword ki was like a sea, dense and covered the sky. In the terrified eyes of the disciples of the true dragon divine sect, suddenly, billions of sword ki fell like a violent rain, madly bombarding the true dragon divine sect. What is the scene of billions of sword ki bombarding at the same time? At a glance, there is only sword ki, and nothing else can be seen. Wu Peng, Tang Hang and others were shocked. At this time, they deeply realized the strength of the demon heaven sword god. No wonder the demon heaven sword god was able to kill the 4 great gods with one sword. Such a terrifying sword ki, let alone all the gods in the 4 major sects. Even if all the gods in the Dragon Empire joined forces, I'm afraid they can't take it. Just as billions of sword ki bombarded, the 18 sword monuments of the sword road spewed out endless sword ki. These sword ki formed a barrier to protect the true dragon divine sect. The millions of sword ki of the devil sky blasted on it, and the sky shaking. Loud noises sounded intensively, and the light burst out. Countless strong men in the Dragon Empire saw this terrifying sword light. Li Hong, the owner of King Lian Tower, Li Qian Qian and others also saw this terrifying sword light. The devil sky sword god is worthy of being the generation of sword god of my Kangshen continent. Such a terrifying sword ki can only be displayed by such a strong man. Li Hong exclaimed. I heard that Yang Xiaoshan killed the disciple of the devil sky sword god. Yang Xiaoshan is simply looking for death. This time he is dead. Li Qian Qian said. Hundreds of thousands of disciples of the true dragon god sect will not escape the bad luck this time. Li Hong, the owner of King Lian Tower, shook his head. Just when everyone thought that the millions of sword ki of the devil sky could blast open the sword ki barrier of Jianlu, they saw that the sword ki barrier was always flowing, allowing the millions of sword ki of the devil sky to blast on it without any change. When the millions of sword ki of the devil sky finished blasting, the sword ki barrier was still intact. Not to mention blasting it, there was not even a crack. What? Wu Peng, Tang Hang and others were shocked. Even the magic sky sword god was surprised. Just now, he even urged his most powerful sword intent, but he couldn't break the power of this sword path. Who is the mysterious strong man who arranged this sword path? Who arranged this sword path? The magic sky sword god's face sank and asked. Wu Peng, Tang Hang and others looked at each other. Wu Peng shook his head and said, no one knows who arranged this sword path, but Yang Xiaoshan has already comprehended the power of the sword path. Maybe Yang Xiaoshan knows who it is. The magic sky sword god looked at the sword energy gushing out of the sword path. His eyes were cold, and he stepped into the air and came to the sky above the sword path. His whole body of sword energy condensed frantically again. I don't believe that I can't break this sword path. Soon, billions of sword energy condensed again, and this time the sword energy was stronger. Destroy the sky. The magic sky sword god shouted. Suddenly, billions of sword energy turned, forming a rotating sword formation, and blasted towards the sword path below. When the sword formation rotated, the sword energy continued to burst out, and the surrounding mountains were hit by the bursting sword energy, and instantly riddled with holes. Feeling the terrifying power of the rotating sword array, Wu Peng's mouth was dry. With such terrifying sword energy, even if he wore the heaven-stepping divine armor, he would be shot through in an instant. Boom, boom, boom. Finally, the rotating sword array and the sword path sword energy collided again. However, no matter how the rotating sword array bombarded, the sword path sword energy barrier remained unchanged. The face of the demon heaven sword god gradually became ugly. He was the demon heaven sword god, who had been traversing the Kangshen continent for thousands of years, but he couldn't break the sword path power of a small true dragon sect. Yang Xiaoshan didn't know about the Dragon Empire. He and the demon ape were still looking for the eternal heaven coffin in the ancient tomb. However, to Yang Xiaoshen's disappointment, they followed the direction of the undead god of death and never found the eternal heaven coffin. They found a lot of other treasures. Even though the demon ape and the others started searching with their soul power, they still didn't find the eternal heaven coffin. Finally, a day passed. The eternal heaven tomb was closed, and Yang Xiaoshen and the others were sent out by the power of the eternal heaven tomb. Looking at the closed eternal heaven tomb, Yang Xiaoshen was quite helpless. He could only wait for the eternal heaven tomb to open in a year before looking for the eternal heaven coffin. This eternal heaven coffin must not fall into the hands of the immortal death god in any case. Yang Xiaoshen and the demon ape flew away from the burial ground. Afterwards, Yang Xiaoshen found a place, took out the innate divine iron and the Kangshen sword, and began to repair the Kangshen sword. Under the power of the two divine fires, the innate divine iron continued to merge into the Kangshen sword. Seeing the last crack on the Kangshen sword body continue to heal, Yang Xiaoshen was excited. The demon ape was also nervous and excited. Finally, the last crack on the Kangshen sword body healed, and the Kangshen sword body glowed. Looking at the finally repaired Kangshen sword, Yang Xiaoshen was excited. After all, the Kangshen sword had extraordinary significance for the Kangshen continent, and now it was finally repaired. He infused his true essence, swung his sword, and the sword of the Kangshen sword burst out, and one mountain after another in front was flattened. Yang Xiaoshen improvised the Kangshen sword technique. Suddenly, the sword energy was everywhere. Under Yang Xiaoshen's control, the sword energy of Kangshen was sometimes like a violent sea, sometimes like a fine spring rain, sometimes as fast as light, and sometimes as slow as a turtle. In the past, the Kangshen sword had cracks, and it was never easy to use the Kangshen sword. But now, a set of Kangshen sword techniques was performed, and it was as smooth as flowing water, without any sense of sluggishness. Yang Xiaoshen practiced more and more vigorously, forgetting himself completely. Over and over again. Yang Xiaoshen's figure gradually disappeared, leaving only the Kangshen sword energy in the sky. Is this the state of unity between heaven and man? The devil ancestor of destruction saw Yang Xiaoshen's figure disappear, as if he had merged into the world, and was surprised. Unity between heaven and man. Seeing this, the demon ape was also amazed. The state of unity between heaven and man is something that can only be encountered but not sought. When practicing supernatural powers, if one can enter the state of unity between heaven and man, the speed of supernatural power practice can almost be described as 1,000 miles a day. Many geniuses may not be able to enter the state of unity of man and nature in their lifetime, but their son can easily enter the state of unity of man and nature. In the Kangshen continent, it is estimated that only their son can easily enter the state of unity of man and nature. The demon apes knew that the state of unity of man and nature was rare, so they did not dare to disturb Yang Xiaoshen, and retreated to the side to guard the surroundings. The Kangshen sword energy became stronger and stronger, swallowing the sky and the earth like a wave. In the sky full of sword energy, suddenly, a wisp of 9-color sword energy bloomed. It was Yang Xiaoshen's 9-color sword heart. 1, 2, 3, 4. Soon, the power of 11 9-color sword hearts surged. After the 11th 9-color sword heart, finally, the 12th sword heart was lit. Seeing the power of the 12th sword heart gradually awakening, the demon apes were shocked. 12 sword hearts. Once the 12th sword heart awakens, it means that Yang Xiaoshen will condense the 12th sword heart. Bingai and Killin and others were very excited. Young Master is worthy of being the one chosen by Lord Hangfeng and Lord Kangshen. The demon ape said excitedly, Young Master may be able to surpass Lord Hangfeng in the future. Under the excited eyes of several people, Yang Xiaoshen's 12th sword heart became more solid. Chapter 373. It's a pity that Yang Xiaoshen is not here. Finally, the 12th sword heart was completely solidified. The 12 sword hearts were shining brightly. Just like 12 9-colored little suns, they were constantly emitting 9-colored sword rays. The mountains and rivers were shaking. All the beasts were lying down. The power of the 12 sword hearts was above the heavens, stirring up the wind and clouds, and the wind and clouds changed color. The Kangshen sword energy was like a boiling sea, rolling endlessly. From a distance, it looked like sword bubbles were rising from the sea of sword energy. The demon apes were all overlords, and they had lived for many years, but this was the first time they saw such an amazing scene. Half a day later, the Kangshan sword energy slowly dissipated like sword mist. Yang Xiaoshen's figure appeared, and under the power of the 12 sword hearts, his whole body was surging with 9 colored sword energy. After a long time, the sword energy dissipated, and Yang Xiaoshen returned to normal. The demon apes looked at Yang Xiaoshen, and always felt that Yang Xiaoshen was different from before. This difference was a change from the inside out. Could it be because of the condensation of the 12 sword hearts? Several people were surprised. In fact, the demon ape and the others guessed correctly. Yang Xiaoshen's change this time was related to the condensation of the 12 sword hearts. Afterwards, Yang Xiaoshen did not stay for long, and broke through the air with the others. Yang Xiaoshen drove the Abyss spaceship with all his strength, and rushed back to the Dragon Empire. It was almost 2 years since he left the Dragon Empire, and it was time to go back. By the way, he solved the issues of the 4 major sects of the Tatian sect and the Ancient God Palace. Now, he has condensed 12 sword hearts. If he finds the Ancient Thunder God Sword, and comprehends the Ancient Thunder God Sword Dao, then he will have a chance to condense the 13th sword heart. By then, there will only be the last sword heart left. Yang Xiaoshen stood at the bow of the spaceship, thinking a lot. If he could get the Divine Shadow Sword of the Kangshan Academy, and comprehend the Divine Shadow Sword Dao, he would have a chance to condense the last sword heart. However, he remembered that the notes of Kao-shun, the old dean of the Divine Sword Academy, said that the Sword of Eternal Night, one of the 10 great swords, was in the Death Sword Tomb, so before entering the Kangshan Academy, he wanted to enter the Death Sword Tomb to see if he could find the Sword of Eternal Night. Sword of Eternal Night. He read. The Sword of Eternal Night was the sword of the Eternal Night clan's ancient ancestor, the Eternal Night God Emperor. Just when Yang Xiaoshen was thinking about the Eternal Night God Emperor, the immortal demon ancestor came to Yang Xiaoshen and said that the dwarf tribe was ahead, and asked Yang Xiaoshen if he wanted to enter the dwarf tribe. Yang Xiaoshen thought about it and nodded. So, several people entered the dwarf tribe. The dwarf chief Manfang and others were naturally very happy to see Yang Xiaoshen, and they entertained Yang Xiaoshen and his friends. Yang Xiaoshen stayed in the dwarf tribe for a day, and then continued his journey, and rushed back to the Dragon Empire. However, when leaving the dwarf tribe, Yang Xiaoshen took Manfang and another powerful dwarf in the spirit realm, Manhu, with him. Now that the elves are almost exterminated, and the immortal god of death has been severely injured, Manfang does not have to stay in the dwarf tribe all the time. When Yang Xiaoshen returns to the Dragon Empire this time, he will have to deal with the Tatian sect, so naturally the more masters around him, the better. After leaving the dwarf tribe, Yang Xiaoshen swallowed the Cheyenne Lan God fruit in the secret room of the spaceship to practice. The Cheyenne Lan God fruit is indeed a divine medicine of heaven and earth. The power of the divine medicine is almost endless and keeps pouring into every corner of Yang Xiaoshen's body. Even though Yang Xiaoshen has the body of a dragon emperor, he still feels like he is about to burst. This feeling is very similar to when he swallowed the Lord of the Abyss and the soul of the deep sea demon Kun Beast. Yang Xiaoshen's whole body was constantly expanding. Yang Xiaoshen urged the dragon art over and over again, trying to refine the Cheyenne Lan God fruit. Time passed. His ki and blood became stronger and stronger. Soon, it reached a radius of 3,000 miles. Then, 4,000 miles. Affected by Yang Xiaoshen's huge ki and blood, the entire Abyss spaceship exuded an extremely strong red light, like a red sun walking in space. More than 2 months later, finally, the Cheyenne Lan God fruit was completely refined by Yang Xiaoshen. And Yang Xiaoshen's ki and blood reached an astonishing 7,000 miles. Yang Xiaoshen's strength broke through to the 9th level of the Martial Emperor. Seeing that Yang Xiaoshen's ki and blood reached an astonishing 7,000 li, the demon apes were all shocked, but Yang Xiaoshen frowned. Although 7,000 li was already quite terrifying, it was still far from his 10,000 li. He still had half of his life spirit liquid, enough for him to practice for 2 months. But even if he swallowed these life spirit liquids, and practiced for 2 months, his ki and blood could barely reach 8,000 li. It was still 2,000 li short. Therefore, He had to find a magic medicine like the Cheyenne Long Divine Fruit. Only a magic medicine like the Cheyenne Long Divine Fruit could quickly improve ki and blood. Sir, the Four Continents Empire is ahead. Cheyenne King Thunder Python suddenly said. Yang Zai Ocean nodded. After the Four Continents Empire, it is the Dragon Empire. Thinking of meeting his sister Yanglinga, Yang Zai Ocean smiled. I don't know how this girl is now. It's been almost 2 years. She should have grown a lot taller, right? I wonder if the girl still likes lollipops like before. This time, he bought a lot of lollipops on the way, with all kinds of flavors. One day later, the spaceship entered the Dragon Empire. The True Dragon sect was in sight. Just as Yang Zai Ocean was rushing back to the True Dragon sect, he was surprised to find that many masters of the Dragon Empire were also rushing forward, and it seemed that they were also going to the True Dragon sect. And there were a lot of people. This made Yang Zai Ocean feel strange, so he stopped one person and asked if something had happened. The other person looked at Yang Zai Ocean with a strange look in his eyes. You are not from the Dragon Empire, right? The Magic Sky Sword God and the 4 super sects have been besieging the True Dragon sect for several months. Don't you know? What? Yang Zai Ocean's face changed drastically when he heard it, and he immediately used all his strength to drive the Abyss spaceship. The Abyss spaceship turned into a magic light and disappeared on the spot. The terrifying airwave blew the warrior backwards. The warrior looked in horror at the direction of the True Dragon sect. What level of spaceship is this? The airwave alone can blow him away. You know, he is a powerful martial master. At this time, the sword energy of the Magic Sky Sword God was like the sea, boundless and endless, and he was still bombarding the True Dragon sect frantically. Under his bombardment, the 18 sword monuments on the sword path flickered. Looking at the flickering sword path, the Demon Heaven Sword God sneered. As he had guessed before, the power of this sword path was not infinite. As long as he kept bombarding like this, he would be able to wipe out the power of the sword path sooner or later. From the situation, as long as he bombarded for a few more days, he would be able to completely wipe out the power of the sword path. Wu Peng, Tang Hang and others also saw that the power of the sword path was about to be wiped out, and they were all happy in their hearts. As long as the power of the sword path is wiped out, it will be the day when the True Dragon Divine Sect will be destroyed. Wu Peng laughed. Everyone guard all exits, and don't let the disciples of the True Dragon Divine Sect escape. Brother Wu, don't worry, this time, no disciple of the True Dragon Divine Sect can escape. Tang Hang laughed. It's a pity that Yang Zai Ocean is not here. Xiao Xiang said. Wu Peng smiled and said, as long as we catch Yang Zai Ocean's family, we don't have to worry about Yang Zai Ocean not showing up. In the True Dragon Divine Sect, all the disciples saw that the power of the sword path was about to be wiped out, and they were all terrified. Chapter 374, Fight Out. The power of the sword path is about to be wiped out. Ancestor, let's fight our way out now. Ancestor Long Heo said angrily. Yes, instead of waiting to die, we might as well fight our way out. Another ancestor Liang Yafei also drew his sword and said angrily, even if we die, we will drag the people of the 4 super sects to be buried with us. The ancestors of the True Dragon God sect all drew their swords and angrily agreed. Li Zhenqing looked at Long Heo, Liang Yafei and others who were ready to fight to the death, but his brows were furrowed. If there were only people from the 4 super sects outside, they would rush out and fight to the death, and perhaps they could escort a group of disciples to escape. But now there are not only people from the 4 super sects outside, there is also the Demon Heaven Sword God outside. Looking at the figure of the Demon Heaven Sword God standing tall in the sky, Li Zhenqing couldn't help but feel depressed. The Demon Heaven Sword God is a generation of sword gods, the real overlord of the Kangshen continent. A Demon Heaven Sword God is more terrifying than the 17 gods of the 4 super sects. With the Demon Heaven Sword God here, no disciple of the True Dragon God sect can escape. And Tangshan Peak is also oppressive. Seeing that the power of the sword path was about to be wiped out, Yang Chao said to the Black Dragon King in a deep voice, once the power of the sword path is wiped out, you will take Linger and run away desperately. Run as far as you can. The Black Dragon King nodded solemnly. Don't worry, Master, even if I die, I will protect Miss Linger and escape. Yang Linger gritted her teeth, tears in her eyes. Outside the True Dragon sect, the magic sky sword god was about to attack the sword path again, but suddenly, he stopped and looked at the distant sky. A huge spaceship appeared in the distant sky. The spaceship was rushing towards it madly. When this spaceship rushed towards it madly, the airwaves rolled, the devilish energy was boundless, and the darkness was boundless. On this spaceship, the magic sky sword god actually felt 2 breaths that made him palpitate. The magic sky sword god could not help but be surprised. At this time, Wu Peng, Tang Hang and others also saw the huge spaceship rushing towards them madly. The masters of the 4 super sects, as well as the Kinglian Tower Master Li Hang, Li Qian and others who came to watch the battle, all saw the spaceship rushing towards them crazily. What is this? Li Hang was surprised. Under the surprised eyes of everyone, the spaceship plowed through the huge waves and came to everyone in the blink of an eye. The speed of the spaceship did not decrease. Not only did it not decrease, but the speed suddenly increased, and it bombarded the masters of the 4 super sects more crazily. Wu Peng's face changed drastically, and he shouted, "Attack!" He swung the sword of stepping on the sky in his hand. Tang Hang, Xiao and all the masters of the 4 super sects all took action. 17 gods and nearly 1,000 saints frantically bombarded the incoming spaceship. Boom. A loud sound shook the sky. When everyone thought that the spaceship was going to be blown away, suddenly, the spaceship just stopped for a while, and once again spewed out a terrifying black light, and continued to rush towards the 4 super sects. Retreat. Wu Peng roared. The masters of the 4 super sects were terrified and tried their best to avoid it. However, the spaceship was too fast. Many Saint Realm masters of the 4 super sects simply couldn't dodge. Bang. The masters of the 4 super sects were seen being plowed away. Some Saint Realm elders were even directly exploded by the spaceship. A bloody rain was flying everywhere. Li Hang, the master of Kinglian Tower, and others were so scared that they took their disciples to flee. Suddenly, there were screams and panic. After the spaceship plowed through the masters of the 4 super sects, it continued to bombard the magic sky sword god. The magic sky sword god snorted coldly, and the magic sky sword in his hand violently shot out millions of sword ki, all of which bombarded the spaceship. Millions of sword ki bombarded the spaceship, splashing out dazzling light. There was a burst of dense ding-dong loud noises. The sound of millions of sword ki colliding alone shocked the minds of the strong men from all sides. Under the bombardment of the magic sky sword god's millions of sword ki, the spaceship was finally knocked back. Li Hang, the owner of Kinglian Tower, was taking Li Qian away when he suddenly saw the spaceship being blown towards them. The terrifying impact frightened Li Hang so much that his sword energy burst out crazily. He took Li Qian and turned into a sword energy and retreated with all his strength. Li Hang and Li Qian dodged. The spaceship crashed into other sect masters. Screams came one after another. Sect masters were knocked away one after another. These sect masters knew that the magic sky sword god was going to destroy the True Dragon sect, and they wanted to come and see how the True Dragon sect was destroyed. These people were gloating over the misfortune, but now, they were knocked away one after another. The force of the spaceship's collision was so great that even many of the Saint Realm elders of the 4 super sects just now could not resist it, let alone these sect masters. The blood rain dyed the sky red. The spaceship retreated several miles away and finally stopped. Many masters were pale and frightened. At this time, everyone could see the figure on the spaceship clearly. Yang Xiaoshan. Yang Shen. When everyone saw the pale blue figure on the spaceship, they were all shocked. Wu Peng saw that it was Yang Xiaoshan, and he was shocked and angry, with murderous intent in his eyes. Yang Xiaoshan, you deserve to die. Deserve to die. Just now, the spaceship blasted through the masters of the 4 super sects, and nearly 100 Saint Realm elders of the 4 super sects were killed. This made Wu Peng, Tang Hang, Xiao and others bleed in their hearts. That's nearly 100 Saint Realms. The last time the 4 super sects besieged the True Dragon Divine sect, not so many Saint Realms died. Wu Peng was furious, jumped into the air, and instantly came to the sky above the spaceship, stabbing Yang Xiaoshan with a sword. When Wu Peng's long sword was about to stab Yang Xiaoshan, Bing Iron Killen slapped out with a palm, and the ice blue flame was surging, slapping Wu Peng and flying out. Wu Peng felt his blood boiling, and he looked at Bing Iron Killen in disbelief. In just 2 short years, Bing Iron Killen's strength has become so strong. Just as Wu Peng was furious, the Devil Sky Sword God took a step forward and came to the spaceship. He was high in the sky and looked down at Yang Zai Ocean. Yang Zai Ocean, you finally showed up. My disciple, did you kill him? Although Yang Zai Ocean was 99% likely to have killed his disciple, he still wanted to hear Yang Zai Ocean say it himself. Yes, I killed Wei Zhongyuan. Yang Zai Ocean's face was normal. The Devil Sky Sword God heard Yang Zai Ocean admit it, and he admitted it so readily, with murderous intent in his eyes. Okay, just admit it. Kill you, take your head, and let the true dragon sect bury my disciple with me. Having said that, he swung the Devil Sky Sword in his hand. A sword energy instantly broke through the void and shot in front of Yang Zai Ocean's throat. At this moment, suddenly, a deafening beast roar sounded, and everyone was shocked to the point that their eardrums were about to burst. A demon ape appeared that supported the sky and the earth. The demon ape punched out. The fist wave rolled, and the demon energy was surging. The galaxy collapsed. The Devil Sky Sword energy was instantly shattered. The fist force blasted towards the Devil Sky Sword God with unstoppable force. The Devil Sky Sword God was shocked, and the strongest sword will was instantly activated, condensing into a 10,000-foot sword body, blasting towards the overwhelming fist force. There was a loud bang. The earth trembled. Many masters felt that this blow hit their hearts hard, and their throats were hot, and blood spurted out. Even Li Han was no exception. Everyone was shocked. Chapter 375 The Gods Will Fall. The Devil Sky Sword God only felt a powerful force coming, which shocked him, and made him retreat again and again, retreating dozens of meters in the sky. Li Hong, Wu Peng and others were even more shocked when they saw this scene. The Devil Sky Sword God, the overlord of the Kangshen continent, a generation of powerful sword gods, actually fell into a disadvantage. Although the Tongson Demon Ape was injured by the Cheyenne Lang Sword God, the Cheyenne Lang Sword God was the best master of the 100 Races Empire in 10,000 years. Although the Devil Sky Sword God was also a generation of sword gods, he was still a little worse than the Cheyenne Lang Sword God of that year. In terms of strength, the Tongson Demon Ape, which had transformed into its original form, was half a point stronger than the Devil Sky Sword God. The Tongson Demon Ape roared to the sky, and its huge body broke through the air and flew up. The two 10,000 feet long black crystal cold iron chains in his hands were swung out, turning into two 10,000 feet long life-seeking iron swords, and hit the Devil Sky Sword God. The Magic Sky Sword God looked at the black crystal cold iron chain whistling through the air, and thought of a legend. His face changed. Are you the one from the Magic Ape Bridge? Of course, he had heard of the legend about the Magic Ape Bridge. When he first entered the Xianzang Academy, the Tongson Demon Ape had been suppressed in the Magic Ape Bridge for many years by the Cheyenne Lang Sword God. When the Tongson Demon Ape saw that the Magic Sky Sword God recognized him, he smiled and showed his white teeth like a sharp sword. His eyes were full of violent killing intent. Boy, compared to the Cheyenne Lang Sword God, you are far inferior. The Magic Sky Sword God retreated repeatedly and dodged to 10,000-foot iron chains. Hearing this, his face looked grim. His whole body was gushing with sword energy, and the Magic Sky Sword in his hand swung out, roaring, defeat you. Enough. The Tongson Demon Ape and the Magic Sky Sword God fought together. The fight was so violent that the sky was dark. The strong men from all sides were shocked. The Devil Sky Sword God is a generation of sword gods in the Kangshen continent, and his swordsmanship is unparalleled. The Tongson Demon Ape has been the king of the fierce beasts thousands of years ago, and it is unknown how many invincible people it has devoured. The great power of the two made countless strong men in the Dragon Empire tremble. Yang Zai Ocean withdrew his eyes from the Devil Sky Sword God and the Tongson Demon Ape, and looked at the masters of the four super sects. Wu Peng sensed Yang Zai Ocean's gaze, and looked at Yang Zai Ocean with a gloomy face. He didn't expect Yang Zai Ocean to bring back such a peerless strong man. Just as he was about to speak, Yang Zai Ocean's cold voice rang out, kill. Suddenly, the ice flame Kirin and the sky blue thunder python broke through the air, and the two beasts transformed into their original bodies at the same time, and attacked the four super sects. Immediately afterwards, the dwarf tribe leader Manfang and the ancestor man who broke through the air and flew up at the same time, and the giant axes in their hands flew out, turning into axe shadows all over the sky, bombarding the 4 super sects. Looking at the 4 people of the Ice Flame Kirin who attacked, Wu Peng's face changed drastically. 5 great gods. How did Yang Zai Ocean subdue so many gods? Even the dwarf gods. How did he do it? In the distance, the strong men from all sides were shocked. Even Li Hong, the owner of King Lian Tower, was shocked. The 2 dwarves beside Yang Zai Ocean were actually powerful gods. And each of them was so strong. Judging from their divine aura, they seemed to be stronger than Wu Peng. Tang Hang and others were also shocked when they sensed the aura of Man Fang and Man Hu. Set up the formation and meet the enemy. Wu Peng roared fiercely, and the heaven-stepping divine sword in his hand first struck the Ice Flame Kirin. The masters of the 4 super sects swayed and formed a large formation. Since the last attack on the True Dragon Divine Sect failed, the 4 super sects of the Heaven-stepping Sect, the Ancient Divine Sect, the Dragon Sword Sect, and the Maha Divine Sect have developed this formation. This formation can increase the combat power of the masters of the 4 super sects by 20%. However, just as the 4 super sects had formed their formation, boundless ice blue flames and thunderous thunder suddenly fell. All the masters of the 4 super sects were thrown out. The formation that had just been formed collapsed. Man Fang and Man Hu swung their giant axes, bringing up a bloody rain. As the 2 of them passed by, dozens of Saint Realm Supreme Elders of the 4 super sects were chopped into pieces. Man Fang was a strong man close to the 3rd level of the Divine Spirit. How could the Saint Realm of the Tarshan sect resist the power of one axe? Seeing dozens of Saint Realm Supreme Elders of the sect being killed, Wu Peng, Tang Hang and others all had bloodshot eyes, roared, and frantically attacked the Ice Flame Kirin and Man Fang. At this time, a thunderous dragon roar sounded in the True Dragon Divine Sect, and 2 figures also soared into the sky and killed Wu Peng and Tang Hang. They were Tyrannosaurus Rex and Li Zhenqing. The 6 people of the Ice Flame Kirin and the barbarians fought against the 17 gods of Wu Peng and Tang Hang. However, under the absolute power of the Ice Flame Kirin and the 6 people of the barbarians, Wu Peng and others were killed and retreated step by step. Every time the barbarians swung their axes, there would be a flash of blood. The ancestor of the Tatian sect, Zhao Jinzhao, watched the 4 super sect elders around him being killed one after another, and was horrified. Suddenly, he looked at Yang Zai Ocean standing on the spaceship, and he was furious. He broke through the air and rushed to Yang Zai Ocean with a long sword in his hand. Yang Zai Ocean, you die. The ancestor of the destroying heaven demon looked at Zhao Jinzhao coldly. The heavenly demon gathered behind him. He directly grasped Zhao Jinzhao with one palm and held Zhao Jinzhao tightly. The heavenly demon opened its huge mouth and swallowed Zhao Jinzhao's whole body of blood. Seeing this, the faces of the masters of the 4 super sects changed drastically. Another god. The middle-aged man next to Yang Zai Ocean was also a god. And he was a demon god. Li Hong and the strong men from all sides gasped when they saw Zhao Jinzhao's blood and ki being devoured. They looked at Yang Zai Ocean and the devil ancestor Mishan with fear in their eyes. At this moment, Li Qian, who had always wished that Yang Zai Ocean would be killed, also had cold hands and feet. The devil ancestor Mishan looked at Zhao Jinzhao, whose blood and ki had been devoured, and crushed him to pieces with a force. Then, his eyes fell on another ancestor of the 10th level of the Holy Realm of the Heavenly Realm sect. Seeing the devil ancestor Mishan staring at him, the ancestor of the Heavenly Realm sect was pale and bloodless. He fled backwards frantically, but he was still a step slow. The devil ancestor Mishan grasped the void, and a heaven-covering demon hand grasped the ancestor of the Heavenly Realm sect. The heavenly demon devoured again. Tang Han cried out in grief. He slashed at the heaven-covering demon hand frantically, trying to save the ancestor of the Heavenly Realm sect. There was no other reason, because this was his son. However, the Ice Flame Kirin slapped out with a palm, and the ice blue flame passed through the air, blocking Tang Han. Screams rang out. The ancestor of the Tatian sect, Tang Ping, was devoured by the sky demon, and continued to wither. Tang Han roared like a madman, but every time he tried to make a move, he was stopped by the Ice Flame Kirin and the Azure Thunder Python. He could only watch as the ancestor of the Tatian sect, Tangping, was devoured. Then he was crushed to pieces by the Devil ancestor. In this way, all the holy realms of the 4 major sects of the Tatian sect were either chopped into pieces by the barbarians, or burned to ashes by the ice flame Kirin, or swallowed and crushed by the Devil ancestor. In the end, only Wu Peng and Tang Hang's 17 gods were left. Are they going to slaughter the gods? Li Hang muttered to himself. Slaughter the gods. The strong men from all sides of the Dragon Empire trembled in their hearts. For many years, no gods have died in the Dragon Empire. Today, the supreme gods are going to begin to die. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.